Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship, rather. Don't know where I was going with that one. English broadcast. I'm Kevin Everett Walker. Joined with me are the two Matts, Matt, Pixie Carroll, and Matt Smite Ross. As we're about to head into the final two matches of Week 10, day number 2. Gentlemen, it's going to be two big ones.
It kind of is. I mean, we were talking about this so much yesterday. Hong Kong attitude are like, they're coming in hot. There's no other way to put it. And we just want to see what else they're going to be able to pull up. And I almost feel like they are now suddenly somehow the favorite for these next two games.
Which is a little bit unfortunate for them because they're not able to get into the playoffs, but they've been such a fantastic team in the last few matches to see them in. Taking down Blank was huge.
There are still some high stakes to play for. Like if you've seen the standings already, you know Machi and Hong Kong Attitude are still battling for that 4th place position. Currently, Hong Kong Attitude are holding onto that one after their win against Blank yesterday. But if they want to continue holding onto that, they're also going to have to beat Machi tonight.
That is absolutely it. And the thing is though, the thing we have to remember, by the way, this being Machi here, the thing we have to remember is there is also, in the sort of mists of time, somewhere in the future, there is a Season 2 on the horizon for these teams. The better your showing is now, the better you kind of carry yourself moving forward. And that's not just into Season 2, by the way. That does also include other tournaments these teams may be able to be involved in the interim as well. Like, you want to just have the best showing possible. If you are the team that started consistently taking down the top dogs of Taiwan, right off the back of this, it doesn't matter that you weren't able to make it into playoffs. You are still that good a team.
All right, let's get some words from both sides. All right, my coach has given me the opportunity to speak today. All right, right now we're not looking too good, but we're going to continue trying our best. Cast us on the right.
我们和 HK 一直都是最接近的对手。那每一场比赛，不管是输是赢，都很精彩。那今天是我们赛季的最后一场，请大家拭目以待，谢谢。
Alright, so we've been very competitive Hong Kong attitude in the past, so despite whoever wins or loses tonight, I think this is going to be a really good match. And I kind of agree with that part. And also, but also what Jin Kao said.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like my coach has allowed me to say some words today. I'm going to say the exact same thing he normally says.
Which is also, again, ironic because they're looking incredible, they're looking great, and they still...
It's like your friend, like, and you know they've like lost a bunch of weight or whatever. They look fantastic.
Yeah,
no,
like,
I don't.
I'm
not really. I'm not
like,
so sure.
Like when someone's
I had
fishing,
a muffin. I don't know.
When someone's fishing for compliments on Facebook, like, lol, feels so ugly right now. Like that's what Hong Kong attitude. It's like the esports equivalent of fishing for compliments. That's
and we're falling right into it.
I know. It's like, no, you're doing great. You beat Blank. You beat AHQ. You're doing so well. Like,
look at where you were 2 months ago.
Well, look, Machi.
I mean, you won't ever make playoffs, but that's okay. You're doing so great.
Well, look, Machi, if they want to take down Hong Kong attitude, apparently they're not looking too good right now. This is the time.
This is your time. Get your ins, boys.
This is
a bit of a bait for Machi, I think.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah. I reckon. Yeah, Machi's definitely sitting there thinking, oh, well, they don't feel too good this time. Well, yeah, we'll beat them.
We feel great.
We'll just relax a little bit then.
Yeah. They're just lulling them into a.
If you look at Machi's scoreline 13 and 12, the difference between the two teams are the 2 losses, and those 2 losses that Machi have are also from Flash Wolves and one from Blank of this current round robin. Hong Kong Attitude, I believe they've already lost to Flash Wolves, but they beat Blank and they beat HQ, which is why they're ahead currently still. So here we go, lineups on your screen. We will be getting into the lineups in a little bit more detail as well when we get to the player fly-throughs. We're going to start things off with Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, there's sort of an interesting thing at play here as well, because like you mentioned, actually, of course, Hong Kong Attitude beat AHQ towards the end of the last round robin 3. They meet them again after this match tonight. But the reason these teams are still even though Machi have never beaten AHQ, is because in round robin 2, Machi actually beat Flash Wolves. That's where that little bump comes from. So these are also teams that are both taking games off top 3 teams. Right now, though, Hong Kong Attitude are the more consistent at doing that. It's one thing to take a win off AHQ. It's another thing to follow that up, within a fortnight, beating another top 2 team. In fact, beating a team that has beaten AHQ itself. So it really starts to speak volumes. And, you sort of go, look, if Hong Kong Attitude can then repeat that performance one more time tonight against AHQ, they are the better of these 2 teams, even if they lose this head-to-head, as odd as that may sound.
CQB's reaction right then was just like, are you serious? Did you really just poke your cheeks? But
a whole lot of eyebrows coming from CQB as well. But
yeah, absolutely.
That man is 80% eyebrows.
I want to be able to speak to what you mentioned there because Hong Kong Attitude now stand as the only team outside the top 3 who have beaten the top 3 teams the most, which is 2 times.
Yes, yes.
Machi are the only team that has beaten Flash Wolves out of the teams outside the top 3. So they got that going for them. So both teams sort of have
nice.
both teams have something coming in, and Machi have not beaten Blank, they have not beaten AHQ. Hong Kong Attitude have beaten Blank and AHQ, but not Flash Wolves.
The tricky thing about that, though, is they did beat Flash Wolves in the second round robin, which is when AHQ also were able to beat them. AHQ's total record against Flash Wolves is 3-1, so that was the only time they beat Flash Wolves. And it started to become a little bit widely accepted that that was Flash Wolves not having a rough run, but certainly sounding some things out as a team, finding their feet, figuring out what they needed to do to push themselves to that next level. And right now, it feels like they're at that next level. As much as Machi did beat Flash Wolves once upon a time, it really feels right now like Flash Wolves are totally untouchable. But I suppose the other side of that is, by comparison, AHQ and Blank are not at all untouchable, and perhaps AHQ and Blank are going through that similar kind of period as what Flash Wolves were. AHQ certainly have expressed that themselves.
Well, another
it's not a phase, Mom.
Another thing that Machi can actually take into this is that I believe that their record against Hong Kong Attitude is actually 2-1. So they have had the better trade so far, so they could be looking to make it 3-1 tonight. And even at the worst, it's going to be 2-2 instead.
And I think that's actually, if I'm not mistaken, a 2-1, with one of those wins being as recent as the previous round robin. So they also carry that coming into this as well, right? And that is like in that same round robin that Hong Kong Attitude were able to beat AHQ. So it leaves this kind of unknown factor sitting around where these two teams stand, just against one another in the relative sense of the whole tournament. We're going to get lots of insight into Hong Kong Attitude tonight because of this, and then immediately AHQ after that. Machi, win or lose, are still going to have a ton of question marks.
Absolutely, and some of those questions will be answered within this game itself, and that question is, what are their chances of making that top 4, but essentially the 4th place spot? And they have to beat Hong Kong Attitude to get there. If they don't beat Hong Kong Attitude tonight, they just can't do it, unless Hong Kong Attitude suddenly then drop all their games.
Yeah. Basically, if they lose to Hong Kong Attitude, they are relying on Hong Kong Attitude losing to AHQ and Flash Wolves, and then having dead even results against every other team from that point on, and I think then maybe they draw.
Yeah, well, they've actually already lost to Flash Wolves, so that's one out of the picture. They just got to lose. If they lose to AHQ and they lose to a bunch of other teams, that's when Machi maybe have a chance again, but the fate will be out of their hands.
Yes, exactly.
Something that is a little bit more in control of this game is Lijiang Tower map pick from Hong Kong Attitude. So Machi are sort of coming on the back foot right from the get-go because they're the away team. They're not even going to get the first pick. If you're not too sure how it works, the home team, Hong Kong Attitude, are going to get map picks 1, 3, and 5, as well as the starting sides. Machi get 2 and 4, which are the hybrid and the escort and their starting sides.
This is quite an interesting pick, actually, because last night in their series against Blank, Hong Kong Attitude picked Oasis. And you would generally figure that that would be the map they have kind of prepped for their home side games this weekend. But evidently that's not the case. They obviously have other reasons here for picking Lijiang Tower, and I feel like a lot of it actually has to do with the Tracer play. I feel like this is quite a bold move, but just frankly betting that Shaolin is going to be able to pull more weight than Kant, I think that is a fairly good assumption to make. But I'm still surprised to not see them go to Oasis. They've either prepped a wide variety of things, or they prepped specifically Oasis for specifically Blank, and then Lijiang is still just that consistent.
Well, Machi are quite comfortable on Oasis, so it's a fair reason to just pick a map that's not Oasis, so Machi doesn't get a comfort pick anyway. So, because we did see them previously against Sun Sister, they picked Oasis there. So, of course, Hong Kong Attitude were watching that and say, well, they did pretty well there. Why would we give them that map? Let's go to Lijiang Tower.
At the same time, it's about, the fact that they've already recently played Oasis. This is a good opportunity now to sort of hide that away and just, you've seen that, but you haven't seen Lijiang in a while. This is a chance to bring out something a little bit fresher.
Or even just, hey, look, we beat this. They actually lost the game on Oasis itself, funnily enough, but they won that series altogether. So it's, hey, we pulled out Oasis, we won the series, and now you're just never going to see Oasis again. Yeah, sure, maybe you want to pick it against us, but that's on you, buddy. And it kind of creates this thing of fear about what the team might be able to pick.
All right, well, thank you very much, Smite, for joining us on the desk, and we'll see you after this match. As we're about to head in now, Hong Kong Attitude, Machi Esports, Lijiang Tower, and it was Hong Kong Attitude's pick. Going to start things off on maybe night markets.
I would assume night markets. It's looking like night markets. This is suspiciously night markety.
It's pretty good, and we're going to see Genji Tracer out from both sides as well. So something we've seen a lot out from Machi in terms of their control play, and Hong Kong Attitude as well. They've gone kind of 50-50. We'll probably see K4 go on that soldier when we get to control center, but for night markets, it's going to be this.
I will say Nonez right now does actually still feel like one of the more consistent Genjis in the whole tournament, but when you stack up Shaolin versus Can, I really do expect Shaolin to just have more room to play, but Machi are the ones kind of gunning for the point here to get this positional advantage, getting right onto the back liners. Good trade back though, that is Zenyatta for Zenyatta, so the dive is equal right now. No talk, getting pressured off to the side, able to swing it around onto Jin Kao, now loses the mech, and they start to force the route here. Machi making advantage of that position they got early on, and they're going to be able to take this opening skirmish and grab the point when it unlocks.
Got to be a pretty tough game if you're Zenyatta. Mango Jai felt a lot of that hurt against Blank. He's still feeling the hurt now against Machi Esports. Good news for Machi is they were able to clean up CQB as well. Something Hong Kong Attitude could not do. Then they lost Jin Kao's make. It all started to fall over since that.
It was quite interesting actually that the dive was matched because, like I said, I expected Shaolin to do a little bit more than what Kant did, but that didn't really seem to factor. Once again, Mango Drive first down and out for the count, but they do at least trade back onto DCR1. This gives them an opening, but it's going to be hard to commit through the sound barrier, especially with losing K4 in the front line. Kant is doing a good amount of work here, forces out now Jin Kao. Doesn't quite pop the mech, but he's well away from this fight as they're picketing and hold on.
That's 2 fights in a row now for Machi Esports. And for Hong Kong Attitude, while they're getting these trades, they're not getting good enough trades. They killed D-Crown in that last fight. They lose one of their supports again. This is now becoming a little bit of a problem. They're now getting behind in ultimates. Machi did, actually they're ahead in ultimates because Machi already used the ultimates to secure that last fight. But in terms of progress, they're losing so much time, they have to be able to get back in.
Yeah, they're just going to have to kind of commit. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And the thing is, the Pulse Bomb is a really hard one to commit on because sometimes you just want to throw it out to kind of catch a backliner, but it's not particularly consistent. They're going to have to try and go for it anyway, and Nunez goes ahead, opens up. This is going to force out the Transcendence from Mango. He keeps his team tidy through that, but Shaolin's Pulse Bomb does go white, is able to finish off Kiyomi anyway, and they are starting to crack the fight open there. Sound Barrier kind of tidying them through that one, and Machi just kind of found themselves out of resources to continue committing to that. So good response by Hong Kong Attitude to absorb that Dragon Blade. They had to use quite a lot, though, to secure the fight.
It's funny you say run out of resources because actually 2 of them died with ultimates that could have probably have used. I understand why D-Crowns held the Primal Rage. Maybe a lost fight already for Machi, but Kiyomi could have probably have countered Transcendence as soon as Mango Jai did and also kept his team alive, then would have given the opening for D-Crown to use Primal Rage as well. That would have kept Machi in the game at the very minimum, kept progress going for themselves instead of letting the cap flip over.
Look at this. They're doing quite a good job, by the way, of shutting down Shaolin. This is something I did identify at the top of this. And another great dive coming in. Yeah, Mango, a lot of pressure onto him, but he takes a while to die. Shaolin is kind of cracked open the back line. DCR1 is going to have to pop that ultimate to stay alive in this one as they catch Nunez as well. That is a well-timed ultimate, but there's still plenty in the back pocket for Hong Kong Attitude themselves. Machi going to have to commit more to this fight, and D-Crown ultimate run out now as Hong Kong Attitude starting to clean it on up. Machi not willing to commit those extra resources, trying to bleed Hong Kong Attitude dry, but it's not working. Hong Kong Attitude held the fight with just frags.
Absolutely, and that's going to speak a lot to Hong Kong Attitude's ability to continue holding this now 48%. They're steadily catching up to this progress lead that Machi had, and Machi are kind of hard committing ultimates. They used D-Crown's Primal Rage in there. That was about the only thing they used. Now they're still going to be able to commit, and that is a huge pickup.
There we go.
1 player, 2 kills.
That's what they've been looking for this whole time. Every single dive they've gone in, they tried to get really hard onto Mango Jai. And sometimes worked and sometimes not, but generally it's been traded. This time, no such luck. Machi going to even up the score.
And Hong Kong Attitude didn't really use much there either, so both teams just kind of holding on to their, their meal tickets here, trying to cash it in at a later date. That's going to be a little bit of a too late commit from CQB as well.
Oh,
Mango Jai going to pay for that, so D-Crowd's picking up these supports with some help from Nunez as well. Machi now poised to continue this probably into the overtime as they have ultimates.
Yeah, this is really just going to be both teams have to throw everything at the wall because Machi, they want to secure this right here, right now. Hong Kong Attitude can't let them do that.
Both teams are fairly even in ultimates, but the good news for Machi is they're gonna get the 99% overtime. Hong Kong Attitude are gonna be throwing ultimates at the wall and hoping to turn it over, and then get progress themselves. So no matter what happens here, they are severely behind.
That is a great start as well with the Pulse Bomb into Jin Kao. He's forced out the self-destruct, but the Pulse Bomb from Shaolin does more work. Jin Kao picking up a kill as well. Hong Kong Attitude commit their ults a lot earlier, so Nunez can still equalize this, but no such luck. Now it's 2 Winstons just kind of duking it out on the point. Good pressure down onto Can, and Shaolin once again is going to be able to run rampant, catch this team unopposed. But it's not over yet for Hong Kong Attitude. They got the cap back, but now they don't really have resources to hold.
Neither team has really resources here. Hong Kong Attitude, they have a sound barrier to hold. For Machi as well, they don't really have enough initiation tools here. Primal Rage is not going to do a lot here when you actually don't have control of the point itself. And I think Machi should have been able to commit a bit earlier. Hong Kong Attitude committed first. They had the initiative, and I think that's what gave them the point.
Yeah, it felt like Machi just didn't quite respect that well enough. Both teams kind of used up all their resources. So this fight is going to come down to straight frags. CQB is going to save Mango Jive's life there with the sound barrier. That's really all they had to use as they pick up Mango anyway. But good trade back onto Kiyomi. They take Kent out of the picture as well. But Nonez is still largely unopposed on the backside here. Now they're going to get the pressure onto the frontliners of Hong Kong Attitude. D-Crown trying to get aggressive. K4 barely able to get out. He's so low. There we go. Finally leaping in. But while he was doing that, the overtime has started to come into effect for Hong Kong Attitude. Mango will be able to rejoin this fight. A 10 could pop the ultimate and stall out, and D-Crown's one has run out. He does pick Shaolin, but there is still plenty of time for Hong Kong Attitude to rejoin this fight. If Jin Kao can stay alive, or at least keep his mech, no such luck there, unfortunately. But this fight is definitely not over. Kiyomi securing a little bit more time now for Machi as they try and get their respawns in. But look at who's alive. It is mostly Hong Kong Attitude, and they are still trying to flood the point. A Ting dropping down. The cap still hasn't gone for Machi. It is anyone's point.
Whoever's Tracer or Genji stays alive, he's going to do a lot of work. Just as I say that, this is when teams start losing their DPSs.
Jin Kao's got the mech back. Jin Kao got back into his mech. He finally went down there, Shaolin, but the point still hasn't gone for Machi. Mango Jai is now onto Soldier, and Jin Kao getting back into the mech is a huge stall opportunity. Machi have finally
Mango's on Soldier.
They've still not got the cap through. Here, it's just going on for so long now. None is finally getting it through, and because that took so long, the overtime runs down super fast. Hong Kong Attitude, unfortunately, weren't quite able to get it over the line there. They had a few good opportunities, but honestly, props to Machi for shutting them down.
Absolutely, and you know, for Machi as well, they were able to just squeeze out that little bit of extra damage towards the end there. You notice Shaolin going down towards the end, you notice K4 going down. That's really when the fight was lost for Hong Kong Attitude. Where they did well was they stalled out for a much longer amount of time. A Ting with the Primal Rage, he lived throughout that entire duration, even lived post-Primal Rage for a certain amount of time as well. Got his team an entire full respawn, but his team was already behind. They were playing off of reinforcements. Machi wasn't as much playing for reinforcements. They already had more people there.
And
so,
the unfortunate thing as well...
DPS was, I think, where it really turned over.
Yeah, and look, Hong Kong Attitude actually, because of a Ting's ult, probably could have waited a little bit longer to get their DPSs onto the point and do it in a more coordinated way, but they opted not to, and they ended up sort of trickling on a little bit.
This flank.
Yeah, this is a great flank. Shaolin actually did this exact same move on Oasis against Blank. Got right onto the back line as it has been spotted out, but K4 able to close down. Yeah, this is just happening every single fight now. These guys are not having a nice time, but now K4 going to be able to rejoin the fight along with Shaolin. They get good pressure on, but losing Jin Kao's mech is a bit of a disaster for Hong Kong Attitude. They trade off here getting K4, and wow, I think that's going to be going the way of Machi.
Absolutely, Jin Kao out of mech is also, he's got to do something about that. Probably suicide, go back into spawn, maybe even change hero. Machi taken the first fight at the start twice in a row over the course of these two stages on Lijiang so far. Gives them a decent lead, but the last Lijiang Tower map we saw, Night Market, still went to 99.99, so I believe that this is going to still be very competitive. And actually, both teams, neither one went for the Soldier.
Good attempt at a sticky, but I believe that got eaten up by No Talk. They get good pressure on here, and they're starting to do a bit of a better job of protecting the Zen as they get onto Nonez, who was too hungry for that dive, and now they go aggressive. This is much more calculated by Hong Kong Attitude. I really do like the more reserved play here, getting D-Crown as well. Here. And this has been an absolute dismantling here of Machi. They're going to be able to get this cap over as soon as they secure out Restia.
Just trying to bleed down these last few members, but I got to commend Machi for trying to get a little bit more progress on there.
Certainly.
The fight realistically was over when Cantonones died. I actually don't agree with Cantonones resetting it right now. I actually, it's interesting because you're trading a lot of life here, you're trading a lot of ult charge for that extra progress.
It looks like they were banking on D-Crown actually getting his ult. He was at 99% when he died, so I think they were assuming they could stall out a little longer and maybe even recommit to a full fight after that, but
I don't think a full fight was realistic. I think they were just buying more and more and more time. I think their goal would have been to try and reach 70% plus, which would have happened if D-Crown had that ultimate up, but at the same time, you're just trading more and more life for ultimates on the other side.
Very early, aggressive commit out of them. Sound barrier for Transcendence to kick it off, and Machi now have to look for their window with the sound barrier expired. Now Nonez looking to open up. They have found Mango Jai. They're right on top of him. He did not have a Transcendence to commit, had already used it on up, and CQB sound barrier had run out as well. But that's going to be the one to secure it. No talk. Yeah.
Even the remake kill into CQB, I mean, that's
the second time we've seen that. We rarely see it, but that is now the second time we've seen that in the space of a week.
Absolutely, no talk. He already picked up the MVP award for Machi against Sun Sister, looking to get a repeat of that against Hong Kong Attitude as well. And that was a pretty big spree of kills. 2 with the self-destruct, 1 with the remake kill, and then just got a kill in the end anyway, just within the Diva mix. So a really easy recontest for Machi, who were kind of behind because Hong Kong Attitude was sitting on nearly 6 ultimates, still lost that one.
Yeah, oh dear. The sticky landed on Jin Kao. It does pop the mech there and also kills K4. That is rough, and that's just an immediate fight loss for Hong Kong.
Team goes down as well. Full wipe.
Luckily did not
Bring the
commit
goal.
any ultimates to that, but frankly, they don't really have many to commit, and now they're going to have to gun for the point.
Machi are getting a lot of these truck and trailer kills where they stick onto one person and
Okay,
then suddenly
you
a
said
second...
truck, right.
And then a second person dies as well. I mean, No Talk's getting it with the mech kills. You got Kant getting it with the pulse bombs as well. I mean, just a lot of these 2-for-1s are so much value.
Look at how much pressure K4 is putting down here. They're going to have to send back someone else just to deal with... Sorry, that was known as. They had to send back someone else just to deal with him. They do sort of get it through, and now because of the opening, because the DPS was actually quite a way back for Machi, they were getting very aggressive. Hong Kong Attitude are just kind of able to circumvent them. So a bit of a failed gambit from Nonez.
A little bit there. Well, I mean, Nonez, he's looking for a few openings here. I was about to say No Talk. I was like, No Talk's had some pretty good moments so far. The other No in the team, Hong Kong Attitude.
DCR No.
You're right, No DCR.
Kinomi.
That's not a bad name.
I'm pretty sure you had a point.
No Rest. No Rest would be a good one.
No Rest. No Rest for you. All right, well, here goes the aggression now for Machi, and they don't have as many things to use here, frankly. Immediate reaction there with the Transcendence, and the sound barrier out for Machi kind of goes to waste there. They're already able to pick... this is great, yeah. The soldier swap did happen a while ago, but I like this position here. And they just kind of open up. Machi have kind of been caught a little bit unawares by this, got absolutely nothing for the ultimates they did use, and now all good pick onto K4. Nonez is actually going to be able to drop back down into a Transcendence. Hong Kong Attitude... Oh man, they weren't able to close out the kills there when they actually had the advantage on the point. They'd already taken a few key targets. They had absorbed all the ultimates from Machi, and Machi are able to swing back with that Transcendence because they could keep their DPS alive while Hong Kong Attitudes got picked, and now they're not going to make it back to the point. 2-0 up now for Machi.
That boot kill at the end for No Talk as well, just under Jin Kao's make, stopping any chance of a stall coming back on through. Nonez did an exceptional job of dealing with K4 on that high ground. I mean, he was able to get the kill into K4. Great duel, by the way, and then able to snowball further kills on the point after that. So Machi turned that fight around extremely quickly, and they had a massive lead. They really set the precedent with that opening fight kill. And it really says a lot about both teams when you really look at who dies first. Both Zenyatta's die first, consistently. That means both dives for both teams are working consistently.
Yeah, as opposed to the other thing we see quite often with these dives where both Winstons die early. Or even worse, one Winston dies and the other doesn't, and then the team whose Winston died just kind of loses the fight. Cough, cough, blank.
A lot of times as well, when you see one-sided games, one team's supports just die and the other ones don't.
Yeah.
This is a very close game because both teams' supports are constantly dead.
But the unfortunate thing here is Hong Kong Attitude aren't quite shutting down the DPS.
What a
wow. Right as I say that, K4 just absolutely smacks Kant in the face. They do lose Mango Jai again, and this time don't actually get the trade back onto Kiyomi, so they do have a lot of pressure on them. They do have a little bit of ground to sort of work with here, but both teams are kind of jostling for position. D-Krang getting picked though. That's the opener for Hong Kong Attitude. Shaolin is on the point to stop anyone from Machi to try and contest it too hard, and with all this positional advantage, Hong Kong Attitude should be able to get themselves all over this point with just a few more picks, and there they go.
It's really padding up K4's ultimate charge as well. And in fact, not even enough because Shailin's been doing a fair amount of damage, getting a couple of kills in there. Hong Kong Attitude a lot more demanding here. This is the first initial fight that they've actually won at the start of a Lijiang Tower game. And they're about to get a couple ultimates on top of that to boot. Kant's already low, actually.
Has to use the recall to stay alive. Nonez is able to path around the side here, but I mean, there's only so much he's going to be able to get with this. They're still going hard on this dive, but it's starting to struggle increasingly. They do catch Restia with a pulse bomb here. Shaolin great on the counter for that one. And look, the dive completely absorbed. Mango Jai is still alive, and suddenly Machi just looked like they're overcommitting to the backliners. And they weren't even fighting on the point.
Really great rotations as well. One pulse bomb really gave them that play advantage to then swing further and further on. Machi had nothing to use there. Nonez got his Dragon Blade right at the end. No way he's going to commit that. Now it's going to be K4 using the Tech Visor. If Nonez commits, there'll be a sound barrier response from either CQB or the Transcendence response from Mango Jai.
And there it is, the Transcendence response from Mango Jai. Before the ultimate came out from Nonez, though, so that's actually been held onto. But it doesn't even matter because the Tactical Visor is doing the work, and Machi again get cleaned up.
There it is. They don't get all 6 members. Actually, Nonez got himself a kill there on Shaolin as well. So there are Machi finding a little bit of bits and pieces here. They're saving ults for a very long time. They've given up a decent amount of progress for this. 3 massive wipes. Hasn't even been games where Machi have taken these fights, and it's actually been really even so far on Gardens.
Now with Nose Transcendence available, they're going to open up K4. Oh, booped off the edge, and that has already secured this one for Machi. Good ultimate economy out of them as well, only using 2 to get that complete team wipe. And they did draw more out of Hong Kong Attitude as well. So that is about as good as it gets for Machi, but they are only just starting to get the progress on the point. Hong Kong Attitude, I like this stall out here by a Ting because this gives them every opportunity to get one fight win and close out the game.
Absolutely. We're into the mid sort of 90s here, and that double boop kill from Rest here. I mean, that's all you really need. It doesn't even matter about ultimates after that. You throw in the 2 ultimates, 2 boop kills for free. Your ultimates only need to deal with 4 people after that. Very easy fight for Machi to take. Severely behind in progress, however, but they have the ultimates to start rotating. If they get the rotations done properly, they should be able to hold on for a long time.
A long time indeed. And they've got the defensive ultimates. That's really one of the key things here. Lacking the Transcendence, but oh wow, early pick onto a Ting as well. Great sticky by Cat. And yeah, they do need to convert here, but they look to be doing that already. Jin Kao forced to take a dive there, unfortunately, and Hong Kong Attitude do get cleaned up. The conversion is there. That was actually 2 ultimates committed when all was said and done, but the economy is still in Machi's favor.
The problem is they only got 2 kills there, so they're not charging back these ults quickly enough. When I talk about rotations, they need to be able to recharge these ultimates so that when it comes rotation wide, they got more ultimates to come around every single fighter. Right now, with only 2 left, no DPS ones, 1 support one, they can live, but can they kill?
And that's actually why Jin Kao took the dive there. You'll notice he hadn't even lost the mech. He took the dive with the mech because at that point they've lost the fight and he is just a big health pool for charging ultimates.
Exactly, and now known as, he had the 1 DPS ult they needed.
That is so huge, a great opening for Hong Kong Attitude. But K4 having a bit of a hard time on the site. They're still struggling to commit to this one, and they don't really have the damage to close out on these kills. Known has actually respawned, he will rejoin this fight. K4 has a much harder part to get in, and Mango getting cleaned up means Hong Kong Attitude should probably just take this on the chin and reset, because they will still have time for 1 more fight. I don't know if this is particularly winnable for them.
I don't think so either. They're just trying to hold positioning here because they get a couple of counter trades, but they can't afford to lose any more members. A Ting in particular needs to live. You can't force out the primal rage now. That's not going to do enough when you don't actually have control of the point itself. Machi have now pretty much caught up in terms of progress, so we're going to see basically another 99 to 99.
Forcing out the Primal Rage from D-Crown is actually huge. That is a massive stall tool and a huge health bar that just doesn't exist now. So forcing that one out at the very end of that was actually very significant for Hong Kong Attitude. Overtime is here as Hong Kong Attitude look to commit. There we go. Nice. Good sticky out into D-Crown. Now without that Primal Rage, they can just get extra pressure down and should be able to start closing him out. They go for the big commit. Sound Barrier has run out. They aren't able to get too much for the Tac Visor, but it may just be enough because it is the DPS they take out of the picture. No talk. He has not, okay, he's finally going to commit the self-destruct, but this is such an easy point to hide from the self-destruct on because you've got that pillar in the center. He is not quite able to get the positioning on that. So the overtime, it will flip back over to Hong Kong Attitude. They do just need to hold on to it for a moment.
Far more dangerously as well, there has to be a commit right now. Someone has to touch the point. There's not going to be just an instant overtime. No still has a Dragon Blade he has not used.
D-Crown barely got onto the point, and now that Dragon Blade can come out. Goes Hunter Killer right onto Mango Jai. One fell swoop there. K4 being aggressed upon as well. Oh, he slips away with his life, and a Ting good response. Now the response can come in from Hong Kong Attitude. Point did slip the way of Machi during that one, but there's still plenty for the commit here. Jin Kao good making of space
nice
there,
tracking.
but can't catching K4 as he was trying to capitalize on the space made, and now the sticking out. Catches CQB in that one as well, forces the mech out, and they are actually going to be able to force this one out. Machi overtime ticks down. Mango does not book it to the point. That really came down to the wire, but well secured by Machi.
3-0 in every single one of these stages in the Lijiang Tower has been a nail biter. And maybe, you know, Control Center, you might say yay or nay on that one, but at least the other two going straight to 99 both sides, and Kent just secured it out right at the end. I think he was the hero of 9 Margot's. I would like to say he's a hero of Gardens as well. Right at the end there, you see None is unable to kill K4, committed the Dragon Blade, only got himself Mango Jai. Kent then came in and cleaned up everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely, and that made all the difference. There was a couple of micro things in there, but when all was said and done, and that final commit, Machi dealt with all of Hong Kong Attitude's ultimates and dealt with the things that went wrong in their own commits, and that was really, really well handled.
Look, when the way Machi was playing, I'd like to think that they were very much in control of which ultimates were being used in fights by both sides, right? They seem very, very proficient at just waiting for Hong Kong Attitude to throw out ultimates. There was a big key moment where Nonez actually dashed up into the air like a lot of Genjis do before they do the Dragon Blade. Then he sees Transcendence come out, almost like it was planned, and then they just pull back, and they end up on top in terms of the number of ultimates they have, and they come in the next fight, and Dragon Blade's there to clean everyone up because there's no Transcendence. I think that was actually the double boop kill, though, where it didn't really matter in the end, but that happened quite a lot during that series, so I think that's actually really clever play by Machi, always being in control of just the ultimates that are used by both sides.
I like to say the double boot was definitely mattered. I think
was
you know
quite significant,
whenever
yeah.
you get like 2 easy kills like that off barely any effort, it swings the fight in a really massive way. Also, just denies the other team from having any comeback mechanics that may affect you. So. Well played by Ressi. I was kind of hoping maybe that was going to be the play of the game, but you know, D-Crown himself, he did a pretty decent job, so why not?
I will actually say we saw 2 quite different approaches to how to handle that dive there as well, and there was this constant kind of jostling because as much as Machi were doing exactly what you said there, Hong Kong Attitude, like that was also their own game plan was, you know, when we see Nonez going for the dive, look, whether or not he commits the Dragon Blade, let's pop a Transcendence so that he can't really safely commit it. And then while we've got that window, let's leverage our DPS ultimates while they're not leveraging theirs. And sometimes it did work out. And then other times it worked out in favor of Machi. And it was this, you know, it was 2 perfectly adequate strategies that both played into each other a little bit. And this constant jostling between the 2, and in the end, yeah, Machi came out the better of that.
And I would like to say, economically, I would prefer you wait for the Dragon Blade to come out before you pop the Transcendence because you get the confirmed ultimate trade versus Nonez then saying, well, I just won't commit and we can save this, and that's you always come out better, I feel, or even worse, he doesn't commit it, Transcendence runs out, and then he commits it, and then he just kills your team.
Yeah.
So.
Or even, look, sometimes, and this is exactly what happened, sometimes, yeah, sure, you'll still win that fight because that play did work, but then in the next one, Nonez still has Dragon Blade, which is exactly what you said as well. So that's the thing, that's the downside to that gambit. So had they been able to kind of boot the ult economy off that, I feel like Hong Kong Attitude could have taken the series out. But they did take the riskier strategy and it didn't pay off.
I feel like the thing that Hong Kong Attitude did well was they rotated quite well ultimates economy-wise on Guardians to start things out. They won that initial fight. K4 had a huge part in that. 3 kills, I believe, in that initial skirmish. And then they rotated ultimates. 1 Pulse Bomb won them the second fight. Tactical Visor won them the third fight. And they just kept it going and going and going, and Machi found it very difficult to be able to commit in there. Even the Transcendence with the Tactical Visor, we were kind of mentioning that. Didn't see the Dragon Blade come out. That would have been even better rotation-wise had they counted Dragon Blade, and then it was just, economy was absolutely in Hong Kong Attitude's favor. And a big deal is Machi took them a long time to find a fight where they're saying, okay, this is somewhere we can actually come in now. And they had 5 ultimates when they finally came in. That's how long it took them to do it.
Yeah, I mean, but we're going to get those situations in control where a team does have to hold the point for the entire time. And like 0 to 100 does take a while. So you do have a lot of time to actually get those fights. So it did take Machi a while to get it, but they knew they had the time to get it in the end anyway. So it is good that they're able to do that, of course. But I've got to say, both teams actually were playing the ultimate macro game rather well. I just think that Machi were the team that always managed to find a way to ult second so that they could either commit the least amount of ults possible or none at all if they're looking to have a more economical fight.
One thing I will say, though, against it in favor of Hong Kong Attitude here, you know, taking this kind of credit where credit's due approach is they actually reacted to what Machi were doing, I feel, a little bit better than what Machi did to what Hong Kong Attitude were doing, and most of that was that dive at the start. We saw, you know, right at the top, and we even commented on this, both Zenyatta's would die right at the start. By the end of it, Mango wasn't dying to the dive. And that is actually quite a significant thing. In fact, most of the time when the dive happened, it was Nonez dying as he was hunting out Mango Jai. That is good reaction. That is really nicely done by Hong Kong Attitude. Unfortunately, everything from that point onward didn't always quite work out, but when they were reacting to that the best was when they were actually winning fights, was when they were in control. They were very close to getting it over the line there on Gardens. We also saw them sort of do it on Night Markets, so that was where they were struggling a little bit the most. At least they were getting the trade kills on Night Markets. That was why they were able to still hold a lead for a while. But they actually did react to what Machi were doing fairly well. And I think that bodes well for the series as a whole, even though they haven't quite been able to take it out of control here.
But one thing I want to point out with that in particular as well is not only are they being successful in dives, both teams, when they did it, but it also says they were focused on it. So both teams were focused on dive and getting those kills on the other end rather than protecting their backline, which is why you kill their Zenyatta, but your one gets killed because you are focused on getting that kill and less focused on saving your own player. That's when we will look at Gardens, and what you said is important is you look at what Hong Kong Attitude then did is they said, now we're going to focus less on the dive and get the kill, focus more on actually protecting our own players, and then maybe get a kill as a consequence of the other team's dive, which is then what happened. And also says a lot about that soldier swap as well, which is better at protecting that backline when you get dives. So Pretty much, I think that says a lot about how the teams are playing. Next map has been picked, Hollywood, gentlemen.
Spicy map pick. Spicy, spicy, spicy. And I like this because we saw yesterday how well Hong Kong Attitude were able to play this more momentum-based game when they played blank. I feel like Hollywood is the hardest escort to do that on, or hybrid, if you will, to do that on.
Yeah, it can take a little bit, but if you do win the first point pretty cleanly on attack, then just shoving the defending team off the rooftops is actually really crucial, and it all does roll off how that first point is done, right? If you just barely win it and the team has time to get up there, get on the roof and establish themselves, then it is a bit of a slog, even right from the very first gate on the second checkpoint. But if you do win it cleanly enough and do control the rooftops, then suddenly you've already got a very good chance of getting it more than halfway through.
Hollywood is also where we're currently seeing some of the meta shifts in terms of compositions. It's where teams are more willing to run stuff like Reaper, attack Sombras, and just a whole bunch of stuff. This is also where teams are now running stuff like triple support, defenses, and Hollywood seems to be the only map, at least within the hybrid pool, where teams are willing to make those kind of change-ups.
Yeah, Hollywood's an interesting space. I mean,
It's like when you get to American, the rules are different or something.
yeah, they spell color wrong. Like, in the UK, we spell Hollywood with an OU.
Aluminum, what is that?
Yeah,
What's
what is aluminum? Like, it's a metal that's going to illuminate.
Either way, Hollywood, this is the land of the free and also of the weird composition. So let's see if someone wants to bring that out today. And I think we're already starting to see this is triple support, like I said.
Yeah, spicy, spicy. This is something that we most recently saw Flash Wolves do on Hollywood, as I believe was the case. And
Well, that's one way to break down the fence.
yeah,
Wow.
wow, that was efficient.
I would describe it in that exact word.
Yeah, and interesting that it's not a Reinhardt doing that. Like,
That's far more efficient than a Reinhardt.
well, no, because the thing is, like, the Germans are the efficient ones. Like, that's the
I see.
stereotype. That's the where
Well,
the
you haven't
notoriety
seen the
is, yeah.
Koreans work, so there it is.
Like, a 19-year-old Korean is more efficient than a German.
That's why Korea's good at esports. There we go.
The efficiency. It's the fence-destroying efficiency.
And also on the attacking side as well, like I said, you know, K4 going on Reaper, not out of the question here as well.
Yeah, but he's not going to go into it.
He kind of hovered it. He was kind of half considering that one for a moment, but it's going to be something a little bit more standard at Hong Kong Attitude now.
Scouting Hanzo finds
What
nothing.
Hong Kong Attitude are going to get themselves into is, I actually think Machi's composition is favored against Hong Kong Attitude, assuming Machi know how to execute this properly.
Yeah, you would certainly assume that. You're right, because
But it is favored on paper.
yes, it absolutely is, and a lot of it's just
It's designed to beat this exact type.
exactly.
Like,
Well, and there's just so many shutdown tools. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, what target do you prioritize? It is a surprisingly hard ask. Text in your answers now.
I like to believe, well, there's the kills coming
Yeah,
in
already.
just like that. The heals are so strong. I like to believe this is Kiyomi going on the side. It's like, I don't like dying anymore. I want more heals for myself.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what it is. Like, he's got Nunez as like a dedicated healer for his healer.
Pretty much. They do rely a lot on Kant to get the damage done here. And also
Yes.
nano boost onto D-Crown. So that's their main two sources of damage here. And also, you know, known as landing some grenades and getting some pot shots in there as well just to sort of help. But essentially, you're relying on a tank with a nano boost and then just one tracer to get all the damage. So it can still be 50-50. Big change up now
Instant
for Hong Kong
change,
Attitude.
yeah.
And they kind of wish they started with this because K4 hovered the Reaper and he was like, maybe I should go this. Nah, they're not going to run triple support.
Yeah,
And then
I
they did.
I feel like there was a bit of like a meta mind game going on there as well. Like, what are they going to run? But look at Ken's positioning here. He's still kind of itching for something around the side. D-Crown as well. Oh, hello, a Lucio, sure. And he's looking for a great stick. He gets K4
Headshot.
with the headshot, then lands CQB with the stick. A Ting is so low, he's going to be forced out of this one. Mango Jai, he can barely keep himself alive, let alone the rest of his team, and they are going to be repelled off that one, based off that one ult. And now this time for the hold, there will be that nano boost that can go onto D-Crown.
Oh, K4, you got to feel really bad for K4. This is feeding more ults. I wouldn't have got him back in the mech because that's just 500, 600 actually HP more.
And
worth
now they let
of
him
ult.
retreat to base.
But I actually want to speak to K4 there because that was so unfortunate. The guy's like, okay, I know what Kant is, I'll get him, and then straight into headshots.
Straight
like,
into a headshot.
Wow,
Ah.
that's not a good moment for the guy.
Yeah, that's rough, buddy.
It's a feels bad moment.
Jin
right
Kao
there.
is actually going to try and charge up the smack, and I do agree with that, just because the walk
You can't
is...
suicide.
Yeah, there's nowhere to suicide. The walk is long, and you really don't want to give up the ultimate charge when you are already behind. Losing Can to the top, though, that's a good one. And the swap over onto triple tank here for Hong Kong Attitude does give them a little bit more pick potential, so we're now going to maybe see how that can play into their advantage.
This is the hardest place to fight Machi when they have all their ults, especially the support ults, because no one's going to die.
Yeah, well, guess who's powered up as well? It is D-Crown, and he's already getting right into the healers. He's not actually able to close it out, but he does still have the ultimate here. Now K4 is the one in trouble, gets taken down. They do get a trade back onto No Talks. They do have something going for them here, but again, D-Crown still has his ultimate. There's a lot in the back pocket of Machi, and now Hong Kong Attitude.
They're stuck.
Yeah, they've just run out of steam here. As much as they did draw a lot of ultimates out of Machi, they can't quite get any more. They are going to have to take this one on the chin once again with very little time for another attack.
It's a very optimistic self-destruct, I got to say, and Jinkao has got to be careful. He'll end up feeling a little bit more ult charge again.
Hold on, they're committing. They lose the mech right at the top.
We're nearly at Death Blossom, actually.
They did pull out the last big ultimate there from Machi. They got this. They got the pulse bomb. Here's the Death Blossom to come out now, but half of it gets eaten, and the other half lands in thin air. K4 is still in this good Earth Shatter, and this is actually what they need to start closing it out now as they catch No Talk popped out of the mech there, getting aggressive now onto D-Crown. K4 unfortunately shot in the backside by Kant, but Shaolin has a whole hog, and they barely kept that one alive to force out the last few ultimates, knowing they would get their own up. It was a gamble. It was high risk, high reward, but it is paying off. Shaolin needs to take a breather here, man, or he's going to go down. Good sleep. Still hasn't opted to take a breather. He just doesn't even care. His lungs are empty.
He's a marathon runner. He wants to keep going, and we're already near the overtime. This is very difficult for Hong Kong Attitude.
Now his healers are dead, and he's actually getting punished for not using his self-heal.
They might get help.
They're getting absolutely routed off the back end of this. And I'm going to be honest, Shaolin played greedy by not self-healing. He forced the healers to work overtime to try and heal him as well as other people. He could have taken the moment, then they could have turned on to D-Crown with a Roadhog that could play safer. I know I'm obsessing over this one micro thing, but dude, that one micro thing swung that fight back to Machi. They couldn't actually play aggressively enough to shut down Machi as they were coming back in to defend the point.
They had a really good opportunity there as well. They picked up a decent number of kills, double whole hog kill from Jinkao as well. Yeah, that was their best moment. And then K4 got a kill with the Death Blossom, connected half of it into a matrix. They didn't really play around the Diva, I felt, from No Talk, which is a little bit of a problem that they got to be able to address in there as well. I kind of felt like their response to the triple support was interesting because on your initial push through, you can scout out what the enemy is. And if you can see the three supports in there, well, you actually have the opportunity to then go back and change straight away without actually losing a team fight. Because they lost an initial team fight, they kind of snowballed themselves, lost a second team fight as well, got into a situation where all the support ultimates had been available for Machi on the other side, and that's the most difficult time to actually attack into them. Then when they had the best time, which is after they used their own ultimates, got the kills, at the end of the day, the reinforcements from Machi was still just too much.
And they had the scouting Hanzo. Like, they just completely misfired the shot in terms of finding anything out. This, though, is equally spicy. The spice is not over. This is going to be a defense aura, so this is triple tank. This is with a Torbjorn. And much like we saw Flash Wolves pull out the triple support on Hollywood, we saw them pull out this one as well.
This is almost like the opposite of what we just saw. I mean,
yeah.
This couldn't be further from triple support. I guess triple DPS would be the furthest from triple support, but at the same time, another option Hong Kong Attitude could have considered on the attack is use that attacking Sombra. I mean, deny out all those support ultimates, deny out some of the burst healing as well. I mean, that is something you actually see teams doing. It's kind of a response to the triple support meta that came from Hollywood itself.
I'm excited to see how well this can work out because Shaolin on that Orisa can disrupt a lot of how dive is meant to work, but it's not always so easy to do. So I'm curious to see if they can pull this off.
No one's in the kitchen. Cafe, rather. They got to find a way to actually deal with this mech, and I like to be. I think they're going to look to flank this mech, but positioning-wise, they have the high ground here, which is really effective for Machi, and Hong Kong Attitude need to have a response.
They have at least been able to pick Restia, so that's something for a response and good positioning there to all get caught by the bio grenade and heal up. So now they're able to kind of get back on the aggressive. So they have actually managed to make this one work, and that actually could have gone either way. So Hong Kong Attitude can't feel too good about that, but look, it worked.
And Machi are at the sort of stage in the game where, similar to where Hong Kong Attitude was after their first attack, they've already charged up some ults and they're thinking, do we change our composition to deal with this or not? Currently they're not, and that's the second time.
Wow.
Kant has 8 rockets to the face, and at least that's revenge for what Kant did to K4 when K4 was playing Reaper, right?
Yeah.
Just desserts, I reckon.
Pretty much.
Much like the Spanish Inquisition, you don't expect that hiding soldier to rocket you in the face around the corner.
Well, he was recently in Mexico. So I don't know. There's a really I was stretching for something there.
It's just still a hard place for Machi to attack into because we've got Molten Core now. It's still, by the way, the turret protected by an Orisa shield, so I mean, it's
very difficult to dislodge these guys.
It is, and you haven't changed the composition if you're Machi.
And the aggression by a Ting is very nicely executed. Jin Kao will actually get taken out. Nona's trying to go aggressive, but there you go. Like you said, fighting through the Molten Core. They're having to expend no torque just to block that. And while he's busy doing that, Machi's backline is getting opened up upon.
Machi's still committing.
Yeah, Restia committing the sound barrier, right? They do want to continue to commit, but they haven't quite taken out Shaolin. Finally get the closeout. Hong Kong Attitude opted to not actually commit some stall tools they had available there.
Hong Kong Attitude lose a decent number of members, which is a little bit shocking. In fact, K4 getting punished is a big deal. That gives Machi now a window to play in where there's no turret, there's no Orisa shield, there's no K4.
And no Nez is still actually opening up. There's no Nez. There's no talk, there's no Nez, there's no defense here. No Nez is still cleaning up the defense. Now they're finally committing some of the few tools they had. But look, they didn't try and stall out with a Ting. They positioned K4 dangerously to try and get extra kills. And now they're having to march in with an Orisa who has no healer. They are struggling. They're struggling to get themselves through this one. No talk picking Jin Kao as well is disastrous. No Nez again has an ultimate. I can't believe it. He gets shut down.
He got the bongo drums.
He did get the bongo drums, but he got shut down. Somehow Hong Kong Attitude are keeping this one alive. Somehow Machi still didn't have it over the line. I don't even know what's going to happen here because Machi, they actually seem to be on the retreat. They seem to be struggling to push this one across.
That's disastrous because they lost a lot of time for that and just the good reinforcements from Hong Kong Attitude. And Nona getting shut down mid-Dragon Blade is a big deal. All he got was another ultimate, but that's not good enough. You didn't get any plays, you didn't force respawns, you didn't really push your team further enough into that, so it's a tough position.
There's not much that they have to actually get for this one, but D-Crown, he's powered up and is trying to get in there, but they're saying no, they won't let him. He's on to the backline though, catches the turret, looking to close out on CQB as well, pops the ultimate to do so, and it does work. Now they're displacing Shaolin, the king of displacement himself, and they're closing out all the kills. Molten Core, no response, absolutely nothing, and they will push it through. GG Machi.
Oh wow, that was tough. That was super tough. And Hong Kong Attitude nearly held that one out as well. Right at the end, I don't know, K4 was sitting on the ground with attack visor. That was never going to really work out for them. I want to give that one a little bit to D-Crown right at the end because he jumped on to the back line, CQB killed the turret, then killed CQB who, you know, sort of kept himself alive with the bonus armor for a little bit, but he really shut down the last hopes, I would say, of Hong Kong Attitude to keep that win. And then, of course, the final nail in the coffin was K4 dying with attack visor right at the end. So,
and the great thing about that, by the way, was Shaolin was doing a great job of stopping him getting into that building in the first place.
Triple kill.
He realized, look, this isn't going to work. You know, he can't go over it, can't go under it. So we're going to have to... Actually, that's not what happened at all. He couldn't go through it, so he went over it. Yeah.
Jump over the mountain.
But he did. He was like, well, I can't go past... Like, I can't get through the Orisa. Let's just go over and, like, straight down the stairs. It was like there wasn't a building there or anything. He was just straight into the back line. And because they were busy retreating... When Shaolin already had that initial choke point on lockdown, they were actually caught by D-Crown jumping over. So they actually hurt their own positioning there. CQB and K4 both. Sorry, not K4. Mango Giant, who was also on the retreat there. And that was exactly why they ended up getting caught out. If they actually had the gonads to say, look, Shaolin has got our backs here, we're going to be safe. Because we've got an Orisa, because Winston can't get past the Orisa, then actually they would have been fine. But they looked like they weren't quite used to having an Orisa on their team.
I was kind of half thinking a good composition for Hong Kong Attitude then would have been not to have a Soldier rather than have a Tracer or even go as far as the Genji. Maybe not the Genji. I think the Tracer would have been better. So when you look at the triple support and they run the Tracer Winston, maybe you don't run the triple support part and you have the triple tank, but then you still have that Tracer Winston together as well. And because I kind of felt like K4 was just nullified. The high ground was gone. There was no chance that Hong Kong Attitude were ever going to maintain that. You had D-Crown, you had Nona's consistently diving it, you had the Orisa on the ground with the turret, so your sort of defensive structure is right on the bottom floor. K4 on the bottom as a Soldier, not going to do enough work. Play him on Tracer, or rather get Shaolin to play Tracer, put K4 on a tank. I don't know what it is, but that would have worked better in my opinion.
A lot of Hong Kong Attitude's composition ideas, I feel like it had the right idea in mind. It's just, I feel like the execution was a little bit off. For example, on their attack, they ran into triple support, and yeah, they probably could have scouted that out a little bit earlier. But when they changed on the triple tank. And then when you look at the defense composition coming out from Machi with a triple support, 1 damage dealer, which is a tracer, by the way. You throw 3 tanks their way, and suddenly that's a lot of hit points for a lone tracer to get through. You've also got Reaper to bust down the Winston when he jumps on, and that's, again, a lot of damage taken out of that composition. So the idea was right, they just weren't able to quite execute it properly. And then again, on defense as well, they had some interesting ideas with the Orisa and the Torbjorn.
I think Orisa Torbjorn is like, it's a little bit out there, but it's about as out there as triple support, right? It's not really, you don't think like, oh, you can't do this. It's still a thing that people
we
do.
see Torbjorn like alone enough on Hollywood. You know, really the Orisa is just, okay, we're running triple tank and we're going to be running Orisa as one of those tanks. It doesn't feel like too odd in a way, but you're right, it's about as outlandish as triple support. I kind of want to speak to something you touched on there, Spider, in their attack, and one of the unfortunate things for Hong Kong Attitude was, yeah, they did make the adaptation. They made it just in the nick of time. They had to run out a lot of Machi's ultimates, had to draw them out first, and they did successfully do that, and then they had 1 fight left, and they were actually successfully executing on that fight for the most part, and a series of small micro decisions. I ragged on one in particular, which was Shaolin failing to use the take a breather, failing to use the self-heal, but a couple of positions...
Was it Shaolin?
It was Shaolin who was on the Roadhog, yeah.
I said Jin Kao, so I made a mistake.
You did, but that's all right.
I expect him to be playing, I don't know, maybe...
Anyway, but I mean, it wasn't actually just that. There was a couple of other things as well, and what it meant was, you know, Mango Jai was overworked, K4 had to go into odd positions to add in the extra damage, and they just didn't really do themselves any favors from that last stretch. It's like they thought, well, look, we've already got this over the line. We've got a Roadhog. We've got, you know, pick potential. It doesn't matter who comes in. We'll be able to, you know, shut them out before they actually do anything. And then they didn't. And then suddenly Machi were all there back on the point, and they went, oh, hold on. We're a little bit lean for health bars here. Our healers are already overworked, and that is not a winnable situation there. So I think they got a little bit complacent a little bit too early, and actually they could have pushed that over the line. They really should have pushed that over the line.
Actually, yeah, to speak to that as well, ironically, I felt like they didn't get, they did the opposite of getting complacent, which was they got a little bit flustered and they were like, what do we need here? Oh, let's try this Reaper, but we're still going to run some of the regular tanks. Oh, okay, that's not working. Now let's change it up again and go triple tank. It's like, is that working? It's kind of half working. Oh, now there's not enough time. Also, then we made a couple mistakes right at the end that kind of cost us. Machi, less so, they were like, we're still going to run this dive. Nones is still going to stay on the Genji, which I still think may have been a mistake because he was kind of ineffective. They won through other means, and that's okay. But I mean, Machi never really let go of the progress that they made, which was essentially, how far are we on ults? We're not going to change off heroes now. And that second fight was where I said, look, this is about the time when maybe you look to change up heroes, but a couple of them had 30, 40%, and that's a lot to lose at that point, which is what HKA would have lost because, you know, they changed up at the second fight.
Definitely set them behind like quite a lot during that fight. And like I want to talk a little bit about the defense as well, on specifically the Orisa and the Torbjorn, because it is on the new patch as well where Orisa, her shield cooldown was actually buffed. So you can drop that 800 hit point shield, 900, and you can drop it down, and if you don't break that in 8 seconds, a new one is just going to be put down there immediately. And the position it was, like, the only way you could get into a position to shoot that turret was either on the very edge of the balcony of the cafe, or like literally right behind the point. And those positions are just way too dangerous.
All right, so we got at least one more map left to go, and Machi looking pretty poised to maybe even 3-0 Hong Kong Attitude tonight. Hong Kong Attitude would not be too happy with that. Not after beating HQ and then beating Blank last night, but Machi got to be feeling pretty fantastic. 2-0 is the scoreline. Assault's going to be next, and we're going to find out what Assault is right after this break. Right, well, that didn't take too long. Welcome back, as we're about to head into map 3 of Machi Esports versus Hong Kong Attitude. Currently, the score is 2-0 in the favor of Machi. We could be looking at our final map in the series.
We very much could be, and I suppose one of the biggest difference here between this and the wins Hong Kong Attitude has picked up recently is they were able to pick up wins on Hybrid. They were able to then extend a lead on Assault, whereas here, I mean, Assault is only just their opportunity to turn it around.
I mean, look, Control was actually kind of close despite it being a 3-0, but Hybrid looked very much in favor of Machi this time. I mean, if we're talking about Hong Kong Attitude being a team that, okay, maybe they might drop Control, but they're great on Hybrid and then Assault, they didn't look too flash on Hybrid tonight.
It was Machi's pick also, and you kind of see why they picked them. They also specifically picked to defend first.
Yes.
And they wanted to bring out that triple spot. They knew this is what we're going to run against Hong Kong Attitude, and it will be effective. Hong Kong Attitude now have the opportunity to strike back with the map pick of their own. Temple of Anubis is going to be that map.
This is, frankly, not at all surprising. I mean, it's comfortable. Look, Assault is this game mode right now where, I mean, there's only 3 maps. For now. There's only 3 maps, and it is one of the 3 game modes we're guaranteed to see every single series, even in a 3-0 situation. So look, every single team has now played a whole chunk of all of the Assault maps. There is no Hollywood of Assault. There is no surprise pick. There is no shock factor. There is no pocket, right? There is just the map.
Pretty much, and you know, not only that, but this is where we see Mango Jai, who loves to play that attack Sombra. Hong Kong Attitude is one of the few teams
It's like
that I
the
think...
spiciest thing to happen to Assault.
Well, to be honest, the spiciest thing to happen to Assault, I guess, would be Sombra, because, and that's spicy enough because Sombra was kind of not really played, and now it's kind of a staple pick on at least this game mode, and across a couple of different maps as well. But Mango Jai, and specifically for Hong Kong Attitude, are the only team that really go for the attack Sombra, and then on top of that, pull it off a decent chunk of the time.
Yeah.
It's yeah, no, I mean, more unique than what all the other teams have been bringing out. A lot of teams do like to bring out a Widowmaker occasionally on attack. Not terribly sure if we're going to see Hong Kong Attitude do that. Machi as well, has been known to bring out Widowmaker. I'm not terribly sure if he's going to bring it out on this map specifically, but there's always the possibility.
Absolutely a possibility. The one thing though, I suppose, is it is a little bit telegraphed these days. You do sort of know that's something they're going to do, so surely Machi will have known that Hong Kong Attitude, they get to pick Assault here. They're probably going to go to Temple, and they may well pull out an attack Sombra. How will we deal with that? I would assume they have prepped something.
I would like to think that Machi will be at least that prepared. They did actually say, you know, at least D Crown said in the interviews following up to this that they specifically reviewed Hong Kong Attitude in preparation for this match because they knew how big of a deal this is. The stakes are high on this.
They reviewed Hong Kong Attitude before their series against Hong Kong Attitude?
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, I mean,
that is
teams
shocking.
do that.
That is really interesting, actually.
Who does that? Why would you ever?
What a strange way to prep.
Maybe Blank should do that.
Well, you already have it there. Machi are going to be defending first, and this is an attack Sombra.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the
Mango special.
That's the Mango. Can I get you?
Quite along with Shiloh. Should I get your mangoes on special? I saw a sign at my local greengrocer that said large mangoes, and all I could think was large man stays.
Okay. That's sort of one way. The other thing is Hong Kong Attitude do always attack this way. So for Machi, I'm kind of surprised if you know they're going to do this, you also want to be able to defend this upward room.
They're trying to kind of pincer them in here by using Canton Nonez on the other side. Yeah, but a lot of teams have also already tried this and it hasn't actually worked. So Machi are confident that it will work anyway, and already they're having a bit of a hard time. They haven't really shut down any of the DPS. The health pack in that room is hacked. Now Canton's just going to kind of have to remove, like he can't get any of these health packs.
He's like, yeah, where do I heal?
Mango didn't actually hack that one on the way, and D-Crown does crack it open, catching K4. They are able to force them out just before the EMP comes live.
And that is exactly now how Machi should be playing this. They storm that small health pack room. It's actually a big health pack room, but they storm the room and they take control of it. The room itself is small, which is exactly the point. And that's also why it's dangerous for Machi to approach it, because whoever has that room first makes it difficult for the other team to actually crack through because the choke is so small. The fact that Machi got in, the fact that Hong Kong Attitude, despite having the health pack control in their favor, couldn't get it done and hold that room out, I don't know, something's gone wrong.
Yeah, something has gone a little awry, and they've actually spotted out already the cannons coming around the backside, but there's the EMP. That was not spotted out, trying to get the aggression on, but the sound barrier is there on the defensive, and now they're able to commit on their own terms here. Machi are already getting the openings in. K4 has to go deep, though. He does get Kiyomi, you're right, dodges the sleep, but he has to get a lot more work than that done because he gets picked off, and Machi do still look very much in control of this fight. Shaolin trying to pull the work out towards the end here, and Hong Kong Attitude do actually have a good amount of tools available. They can close out a couple more. It could be anyone's fight still, depending on who gets the kills. So good dodge at the pulse bomb there, and still anyone's fight.
D-Crown, oh wow, he was alive for so long.
It's no longer anyone's fight, it is now Hong Kong Attitude's fight. Never mind that, no talk. Where did that come from? And it is again even playing field. Great hack though is meaning Jin Kao wins the D.Va 1v1. No talk though, he's trying to actually pop the mech anyway. And it's gonna work, I don't believe this.
How do you get that kill onto Shaolin?
Can you say Clown Fiesta? And they don't secure it. Neither team really felt the better for that fight, but a couple of shock twists and turns along the way leave it in favor of Machi.
That was ridiculous for No Talk. He's just sort of pistol whipping Mango Jai, and Shaolin runs into the middle then takes a fall himself. So it's going to be Hong Kong Attitude trying again now, get their health pack back up. We're nearing the EMP, so might get some work done.
Tell you what, but we're a long way away from K4 being alive. He just went down. Shylin, good pulse bomb
Good
connect.
trades.
They can actually take this fight now if they really do want, because K4 will be able to rejoin them. They pop No Talk's mech, get the pressure onto D-Crown. They have committed this EMP, so they can't shut down D-Crown's ultimate anymore, but it doesn't matter. They're able to secure out the kill. Machi looks set to see the point, and that means Mango Jai, he's going to go ahead, hack these health packs well in advance before anyone is able to hack them on the defense.
There you go. Sorry, Kant. You are a little bit too late to this party. And that's going to be, I would even say Kant will swap off here because it's very difficult now for him to get to regain control.
Just can't hack it.
Especially if Mango Jai, you know, he's very close to EMP as well.
And this is swaps out for Hong Kong Attitude as well. Going to go ahead, run this Reaper. We're seeing this a lot on this final point when there is an EMP. This is not too spicy, but always a pleasure to watch.
Oh, you know, Hong Kong Attitude now trying to, I think they're maybe waiting for EMP a little bit here, but they can at least break it, which is what they've done. Take control of one of the rooms. Timing is very, very precise here, and Kant's going to get the rehack.
Yeah. He was able to get a few through there, able to rob some from Mango. But Mango does have his EMP anyway, so there's now a window where they can commit. Yeah, they need to kind of take advantage of this before Ken gets his EMP up. And they do. They get right on top of the point. They're going to have to force Machi to take the low ground, and they do exactly that. Good trade back onto Kiyomi, but Mango is getting aggressed upon. K4 can't get the damage down through DCR1's ultimate, or if you will, D-Crown. Nona is going to secure this one out with the Dragon Blade, and the trade kills aren't good enough for Hong Kong Attitude. You need to get a lot more than trades when you're the attacking team on Assault.
Yeah, absolutely, and Kant still hasn't used the EMP. He actually hasn't needed to. He got EMP'd himself, and then he dies with EMP, and everything's still quite gravy for Machi. So what's really telling is Hong Kong Attitude, we're so far ahead in terms of their Sombra and their hacks. Mango Jai was on Sombra forever. He already pre-hacked the health packs at the second cap. Kant came in afterwards, and still Kant had an EMP ready to go in that fight, and was willing to use it.
This is interesting. Mango was sort of getting aggressive on the backside there. I think he was just trying to scout out the positioning a little bit because they had lost Jin Cow. They certainly weren't going to be committing to that fight.
And now Hong Kong Attitude are going to be playing into an EMP of themselves. So what Machi got to do here is if they can get aggressive, they can make the EMP play first. You're not going to be in a situation where you can get a risk of being counter EMP'd from the other team. So neither team can be too patient.
Yeah, they're going to have to try and get aggressive. There we go. That's the hack out from the defenders, but it gets shut down. They're actually winning this fight already. No Talk has to commit the self-destruct. He doesn't quite get back into his mech, and now K4 looking to go aggressive, barely able to get back out to the point. And now the hack is there for the attackers. They are all over this point, 2/3 through, and the respawners are going to have to flood out without their healers behind them. They don't get onto the point.
Wow.
That was a really clean cap through from Hong Kong Attitude.
And that was coming off the back of a failed EMP from Kant. So while I was saying, look, Machi got to be able to commit this EMP into a fight and do it soon before Mango Jai can get his EMP. While they did that, Kant died immediately. Then they lost another player. I think it might have been Nunez. So all their damage was gone. I mean, it was just, who was it up to? Just tanks and supports. No one else could actually take advantage of the EMP, which is a big deal. You didn't kill anybody with your EMP. You lost one of your ultimates, and then suddenly Machi knocking on your front door.
And then the French came over and killed your dog.
With EMP of themselves. Look, K4 misses Death Blossom altogether, but at the end of the day, the cap out happened so quickly, Machi had nothing left in the bank.
No, they really didn't. And
against the French.
Yeah, against the French. The French attitude. I think the French, no, it was the Portuguese that had Macau. So never mind. British had Hong Kong. Portuguese had Macau.
British attitude, that's
France
Hong Kong.
France had nothing. They didn't get one. You get nothing, France.
All right, well, it's going to be the flip over now.
Day.
Machi will be on the attack this time around, and I'm not expecting an attack Sombra here, unless Machi have been preparing something in secret that we haven't seen yet. It's not really their style. I think they don't go for stuff like that. They're going to be playing something a lot more standard, known as on Genji. Something that they actually are now, is a bit of a staple pick of theirs, is Tracer Genji, and a lot of teams have now moved on to Tracer Soldier, but they're one of the few teams that are definitely sticking to Tracer Genji.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with it either. I really do feel Nunez, like I said, he's one of the few remaining consistent Genjis. And I know that that's a very dubious accolade to have, but I mean, it's significant enough that it's worth keeping him on it. He doesn't seem to struggle and flounder. Like, he's not really 50-50 like the other Genjis in this tournament right now. He is actually still very solid.
I would actually say Apudo is definitely one of the best Genjis, if not the best Genji. And a lot of players would say that as well. And actually, Fireball, one of the only other teams that continue running their Tracer Genji. But here it is, Machi. Tracer Genji, like I said, going to try and make that one work.
Yeah, nothing too surprising here, and yeah, Hong Kong Attitude themselves going to go ahead, run Soldier and Tracer on the defense, plus that Torbjorn, so Mango Jai, again, going to have to be putting in the overtime hours.
And by the way, this is Hong Kong Attitude in a nutshell as well. They do this every single time. And we actually, when we watched this against Blank, we had Temple of Anubis right as well. And I think Blank really struggled here.
They really did, but already a Ting getting aggressed upon. Mango Jai gets dropped down. The armor does not save him. T-Crown able to back out with his life as well, so they don't even punish the divers here. And now Jinkao is kind of stalling for time here, trying to keep his own life as T-Crown, good aggression, not able to retreat to the health pack. And very few trade kills coming through on the side of Hong Kong Attitude. And this defense gets cracked right open.
That is a little bit disastrous. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude had such a better performance on this map against other teams who are actually higher ranked than where Machi currently are, but Machi blast the doors open through that one. Hong Kong Attitude are going to change a couple of the hero picks as well, so lose a bit of ultimate charge. Machi are still waiting on ultimates, but they're not too far off, so they're looking to get it in the middle of this next fight. Timing will be key again, trying to time it against the Sombra. This will be their best push.
It absolutely will. And that was a very good swap onto the Sombra actually out of Mango Jai, so very nicely done. Swapping to a Sombra is almost an admission of defeat on that first point, but now here's the fight open out for Machi. Going to commit in with that sound barrier. K4 though, he's doing a good job of keeping alive and keeping the pressure on. The trade kills once again not good enough for the attackers as K4 still in this one, trying to get onto the health.
That's a trap. That's a big trap.
That was very well laid as well, and now Machi have a bit of an upper hand as Nonez opens up, but a good return kill once again onto Kiyomi means Machi are still kind of struggling to stay in on this one. They do have themselves almost a third through, so a few more kills will secure that third for them. This is some good zoning though with that self-destruct, buys the remainder of Hong Kong Attitude time to get the point. The hack comes through, the EMP out. Nonez, he's not actually willing to commit to this fight, having to hide for the time being as Shaolin able to get aggressive on the backside, and Hong Kong Attitude are going to be able to hold on without this third going over.
Yeah, the hack coming out, or the EMP rather, just in the nick of time. This is going to be a last sort of minute play from D-Crown to try and keep it alive for his team, but they're kind of just flooding on without any real win condition. Losing Nonez as well is just, you're losing all your damage here. About time maybe Machi actually should just retreat. Yeah,
they've taken a long time to retreat. They're really kind of overcommitting to this one now, I feel, and all they've done is given more ultimates over to Hong Kong Attitude, who can now just kind of,
too.
Yeah, they can just sort of play the ultimate economy game now, because they're going to be able to get EMP up for pretty much every single fight, and then every other ultimate they have on top of that makes it really hard for Machi to get anything through.
An EMP coupled with K4's Reaper Death Blossom is absolutely devastating. Technically, though,
hey, he finally made the jump.
It's funny because he doesn't even need it. He's Reaper. He can teleport, but whatever. Each to their own, I guess.
He just doesn't want the really loud animation there. By the way, where do all those names come from? Like the Nick of Time, or like To Be Frank With You. Like, who are these people? Who's Nick? Who's Frank?
And who's Eugene?
Who is Eugene?
Nonez might be able to answer that question for us later on.
Keeps talking about how Eugene becomes him, but look at this position by Mango Jai. Catches them right as they're trying to set up for their latest attack, and already the aggression is on. Restia out of the picture. Trade kills here wouldn't even be good enough to get Machi back in this one, and now they lose D-Crown. They have to go ahead and retreat.
And they had a ton of ults as well, but playing against the EMP is difficult, and the really crazy thing for Hong Kong Attitude is they didn't even have to combo Death Blossom with it, so they have that for another fight. I don't know what kind of Midas you're going to get there, because as long as No Talk has, as long as he's aware, the Matrix should be able to block out the majority of it. I'd like to see what Hong Kong Attitude are going to be able to use against this next push, because Machi, 5 ultimates lit up. This is going to be a big one.
Yeah, it really is. They don't quite have the EMP, so this is the time for Machi to commit very early in. They're going to use the Nano Blade combo by the looks of things, but double sound barrier out as K4 is on to the healers, gets Kiyomi. The self-destruct is a good one along with that Dragon Blade, but the Death Blossom shut down. Nicely done. Return self-destruct though, swings this one back over to Hong Kong Attitude. Third does go over to Machi, so they do get something out of this fight, but they have to go into full retreat anyway. They still have 3 minutes. They still have time to play this game at thirds. No, I am a liar. They did not cap the third. They fell just barely short. That is heartbreak and a half, and they have to now actually just go for a full cap.
Devastation in the Machi camp again. That's not something you want to see specifically.
That must have been a hair's breadth away.
I mean, 5 ultimates committed as well. It's tough. I mean, they threw everything at that last fight and they couldn't get it done. They even blocked out K4's Death Blossom. Nothing came out of that. They're now going to play Sombra Reaper themselves. And the biggest thing that happened for Hong Kong Attitude was Jinkao got a double on the self-destruct, and that was enough to force Machi away.
And that's the thing, right? That's why it's hard to fight into Hong Kong Attitude's ultimates. It almost doesn't matter how many you have. Hong Kong Attitude, all they need to do is get 2 kills from 1 ultimate, and suddenly the fight has just swung in their favor. That is just the nature of Assault.
A little bit, and they didn't even have to play against EMP. They timed it well that EMP wasn't in the picture. It is now, and they have less ultimates to play with.
And then the French are going to come and shoot their dog if they're not careful. But anyway, this is going to be the move here by Mango Jai. He gets into the middle of Machi, and this is much better aggression though out of Machi. This is a bit of a repeat of what Hong Kong Attitude did to them, fighting through the self-destruct. Jin Kao, mech pops, hack in response out of Canton is starting to run down the DPS now onto Xiaolin. The response kills are not there. It is actually Machi set up on this one. Hong Kong Attitude, they can just wait until a few more members are respawned before they come back out into this, but a bit of an early commit out of a Ting, means that may no longer be the case. K4, he is going to die. He did stall, but now, like I said, they are struggling to actually commit to this in a significant way. They're not getting return kills. It is Machi having this point on lockdown. A contest is not good enough, and the cap is going to go through for them as well. We're going to time bank, boys.
I think it's incredible that the fight that Machi get it in is the fight with their least favorite. They're playing against EMP. They have no ultimates, and then they just win. In the fight, they have 5 ultimates.
They were the French.
Against 5 ultimates against no EMP, they lose. It's what that makes no sense.
And I'll tell you what.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. There was a real lack of discipline at the end there by Hong Kong Attitude. A Ting and K4 were the first to come back to life, and the rest of the team wasn't far behind them. A third had gone through, but nothing else at that point. And a Ting committed. He went, I have to contest. I have to stall so my team can respawn. They could have actually waited and then come back in at least a 6 versus 6. What they did instead is committed to a 2 versus 6. That's a guaranteed losing situation. And then committed to a 4 versus 6. That's a guaranteed losing situation. And they didn't do themselves any favors. Look, the only reason you should ever commit into that 2 versus 6 is because you don't have time. But when you do, it is not okay to do that. And the lack of discipline cost Hong Kong Attitude when they probably could have held.
And Machi, whether they did this deliberately or not, but they actually managed to get kills in the correct order because they got K4 quite early. You see on the respawns, he came back as a Reaper, tried to stall that out. If your DPS is respawn without tank support, without support, then they just die again and you lose your win condition. The win condition is your tanks can really stall out the game for you, and then your DPS is coming out and get the kills, but that's just not going to happen if K4 dies early, comes back, dies again.
Well now, Machi out the gate on the offense. They had the less time in the time bank by about 45 seconds. Let's see if they can make good use of this time to get this first point. They were the fastest to attack that first point.
Sticking to the guns as well, they're running the same composition. In fact, I think both teams are just doing that.
Yeah, why not? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And like I said, Machi were much quicker on the offense compared to Hong Kong Attitude's defense, but already this one doing a little bit better for Hong Kong Attitude. They've got the return kills in. D-Crown is wreaking havoc though, so gets down CQB, and Hong Kong Attitude may start to fall apart on this defense. They do pop No Talk Smack. Good catch onto known as D-Crown, forced into retreat, and K4 by sheer merit of being DPS and being alive is barely going to be able to keep this fight in favor for his team. They run down a good amount of Machi's clock.
Right, that's good news for them as well, because this is when Armor starts to count for his entire team. They're bunkering down in this one little section. The heal pad from Soldier really works wonder in that sort of little area as well. Makes it quite hard for either Cant or Nones to really penetrate. So against the specific lineup that Machi's got, I think Hong Kong Attitude have a pretty good positioning. Interesting turret though.
I like this. This is actually to block out Cant, who has been kind of weaving around the backside. It spots him out a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Turret's being destroyed. They know where Cant is, so now they can kind of wheel around and answer that. Cant is forced into retreat.
Nearing Molten Core as well, so everything's sort of working out quite well for Hong Kong Attitude, except for that death and
that one too, yeah. So now it's a bit disastrous because they don't have the nano boost either. Their Molten Core is now forced out. This will run down some clock, which is at least good news. There's only 10 seconds or just over remaining for Machi, but the trade kills aren't actually there. K4 is still alive, but I believe that's because he's just respawned. Oh, wow. CQB does drop down at the end of that one. There's K4, actually. It wasn't that he'd respawn. They do just barely get the cap through, so they will buy themselves a touch of time to get onto this third point. If they can at least secure a third here, they are actually well poised to take the map.
I'm not going to lie, but I don't know what their Molten Core did, because if the turret was still behind them, which it may have been, That was a little bit of a waste, but you're changing off anyway. CQE is going to be going on to the Sombra. Interestingly enough, usually it's Mango, but hey, you know, Honk Attitude going to change things up for this final defense, and a lot of ultimates from Machi. Although the last time Machi had this many ultimates, they couldn't do it.
And they committed them all right at the top, found nothing for them. The sound barrier is about to run out, and they haven't actually got that third just yet. Hong Kong Attitude already have return kills. No Nez rather, not even able to take out the healer, and the lack of the third coming through for Machi is really disastrous. Like I said, getting that third would have been very, very good for them, but I suppose they had no choice but to go for a hard commit. They get repelled. There's going to be the last few members getting picked off on the point. Hong Kong Attitude, the respawns are through for them. They're securing the kills out. Yep, Machi fully repelled now. Overtime ticks down, secured for Hong Kong Attitude, who will have to attack, and they have to cap the point, then cap a third on the second point, but they have an extra 45 seconds to do
once
that.
again, Machi coming in with an advantage, 5 ultimates to, I think it might have been 4, so you know, you had 1 extra ultimate to play with, but initiation was there. Timing was, I would believe, maybe a little bit off because they did blow a bunch of ults together at the same time.
What they did
we did
is
see
they tied a bunch of straws together and then like put them all over the Q key and then pressed down all at once across the whole desk of all 6 keyboards.
Maybe. And you see the Nano Blade on Nones as well, only catching 1 player. Loses the duel to Mango Jai, which is a big deal because he needed that duel win to actually get the reset to then snowball onto another kill, but just couldn't get it done. It only took 1 good biotic grenade from Mango Jai to sort of repel him. And not only did he get repelled, but the entire Machi attack just got kind of repelled there. A lot of time, I think, spent by Machi just getting that first cap. And what's interesting is I kind of expected Hong Kong Attitude to get a first cap hold with the position that they had towards the end there and the ultimates they were racking up. But they lost a couple members super quick.
I think had they been earlier to commit the nano boost, they would have been fine, but they were waiting for Molten Core. Funnily enough, Nano Core, as we call it, is a surprisingly strong defensive tool if you can use it. And it's the one where you don't actually need the turret in a good place. So they could have left the turret there. I think that's why they left it there. They were planning so that the Molten Core could kind of shut down Kant if he wanted to come around the backside, and then the Nano Boost, then the Nano Boost on the Tourbillon itself can actually do a significant amount of damage. It's a bit of an oddball strategy. Look, it would have worked, but they weren't able to execute. So actually,
Kant wasn't even there. So I mean, that's
and
the
good job
problem.
by Machi, you know, to shut that down and kind of take the window. Same thing though out from Hong Kong Attitude on their attack. We'll have to see if they can do it.
Well, last time Machi were able to storm into this room and actually block them out. If they can do the same thing again, they're going to have a really great time. And it does look like they're attempting to do that. So here's a break-in.
Yeah, very aggressive, and one of the big differences is Shailin was around the back to try and deny the space that Kant had taken last time, but they barely hold on through that. Good job keeping themselves topped off with the health pack and kind of surviving the biotic grenades coming out from Kiyomi. The only thing that popped was the mech. Yeah, that is indeed a kill onto Mango Giant, one of the most significant members, but they catch Nones as well. D-Crown in a world of hurt. They close out No Talk. They might be able to close out D-Crown as well. They're getting aggressive. They pop the healers. Restia, he's having to work overtime, and he's having to go into full retreat. While doing so, they close him out. Hong Kong Attitude are already all over this one, even though they lost Mango at the top, and now he's going to have the EMP as they storm the second point and look for a snowball.
Absolutely, I'd like to see where Mango Jai is, because I wouldn't be surprised if he's already pre-hacking all of the cap 2 health packs, and we're going to see yet another Sombra player coming out. Now, Nones this time instead of Kant. I see why they're doing that. Kant's already got an ultimate. I kind of like Kant staying on the Tracer anyway, just because, you know, Tracer's so effective just anywhere on the map. So Sombra versus Sombra action. EMP ready to go on one side. Hong Kong Attitude should have advantage.
They absolutely should. And like we said, they only have to get a third. They have a minute and a half to do it. They sort of have 2 attacks worth of time potentially. Here goes Mango Jai though, looking for it, trying to get right in behind the team, right into it. That is a good placed EMP. Sound barrier out early, pick onto Nones as they get the aggression on. K4 hasn't really found much, but now he's got the Dragon Blade, has to wait out the sound barrier, but they're converting the kills. All they've lost so far is CQB. They're catching even more. Shailin though, he is getting aggressive upon. K4 still waiting for the window if he can, and the good stall is there from Big Crown. The third has not been secured. Hong Kong Attitude, they need to decide now whether they're going to commit or whether they're going to back off, and it is going to be a commit. Just barely gets 1 kill through before he gets taken out there, and Hong Kong Attitude, the commit may have cost them because they aren't capping the third and they need to back off now.
D-Crown still lived. Now he finally dies, and this is a really clustered fight for both teams, and Hong Kong Attitude still getting a number of picks, but they lose all control of the actual cap itself. So yeah, they do back out, they do regroup, they're gonna have to try again, but that was the biggest advantage they could have hoped for. Now they've got EMP again, but playing into another EMP itself.
Yeah, this is about as tricky as it is going to get. 30 seconds as well means Machi, they know that eventually Hong Kong Attitude just kind of have to book it.
It's so tough, and for both sides, really. I mean, both sides are relying on the same thing. Whichever Sombra gets EMP'd down, I'd like to say if you can get it down first and kill the other Sombra, you've got it.
But you're a liar, because Nonez commits first and Mango commits second. It is capable of going down to the top of this, but it's still anyone's. Never mind that. They do take out more members. They catch Shylin too. And Hong Kong Attitude already in disarray for this one. Kiyomi able to open out with attack visor. Getting a little bit of it blocked out, but it doesn't matter. The damage is still there. And there's too many members of Hong Kong Attitude having to try and shut him down. They're not actually on the point itself. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a tiebreaker.
Wow. That is incredible. These two teams could just not be closer right now. I mean,
that's yeah.
right down to the end. I mean, these are the two closest match teams I would say in the whole tournament.
It absolutely feels that way, and you know this is Hong Kong Attitude hot off a win against Blank. You sort of wonder, well, how good is Machi as well then? Look, this is actually quite big shakeups. Nonez just took a minute to arrive. He was repositioning. I was really confused when it was just rendering the little like backdrop. I was like, what is this? What are we looking at? But yeah, this is
and it looks so good. It actually
even.
looked incredibly good for Hong Kong Attitude at multiple points. First camp looked fantastic. I kind of felt like they should have helped that. I think this was on the original defense I'm talking about here. And then even that last attack, I mean, it should have been favored, but I kind of said that about Machi at multiple times as well. Should be favored here. Not really getting it done at the end of the day, and then when they weren't favored, well, suddenly they cap it out. That's a bit strange.
And that's the thing, in a way, I feel like a lot of that map was actually determined by when teams failed to execute, and sometimes it happened, like you said, when it felt like that shouldn't have happened. So like, are both teams just sort of blundering their way to equality here?
It seemed a little awkward on Hong Kong Attitude's defense during Time Bank as well. The turret position on the Torbjorn, while I can sort of understand the reasoning for catching out flankers, you picked up on this during the game, AVRL. The Molten Core was kind of just non-existent. It's one of the most powerful defensive tools, and
half of it's the turret.
Yeah, sorry, like,
yeah, that's why the turret was not existent.
50% of the ultimate is actually the turret.
That's the Molten. He's the core.
Like, do not underestimate the short guy running around on fire. Like, he does a lot of damage too. That's fine, but like, the turret is such a great tool for just shutting down, of course, flankers, right? But also, Genji's using Dragon Blade. If he's deflecting, then he's not using Dragon Blade, and if he's not deflecting, well, he's dead. And that is one of the biggest ways to shut down a Genji. Tracer as well. Even though it's blocking off one of the parts, it's not the point. You want to have the turret on the point itself. And so I can sort of understand the reasoning for it, but Hong Kong Attitude could have held the first point right then and there. They just had a turret.
I don't want to say that's the only reason.
It's not the only reason.
I think it's a factor for sure.
I mean, also a lot of members died.
Yeah, the other part, which was the biggest part, was actually like, yeah, everything's looking fantastic here. They got well, that's actually not so good. And also that other death they just had. What's going on? They're just losing members.
Exactly. It was also actually a very successful dive by Machi. Let's not forget that. So, I mean, that's why it's a little unfair to say it's just two teams blundering their way to equality, because actually, if, you know, we can say, look, this team made a few mistakes here on the defense and yada, yada, yada. The thing is, actually, the other team put them in a position where that mistake was kind of forced because their attack was good. So I think that's the thing we have to say in all fairness. But the unfortunate other half of that is then Machi kind of had a bit of an odd attack on the second point. The one that baffled me the most was the Diva ultimate. They kind of threw it off to the side, and it's like they all pressed the Q button at once, rather than going, all right, well, you need to use this and then use this and then use this. And they just kind of went, oh, we've got to get onto the point. We've got all these ultimates. Let's use them and we'll win a fight. And it felt very rushed. It felt very panicked. And this is after they had just pulled off an extremely successful attack where by rights they should have lost on paper.
I can kind of understand the positioning on the self-destruct. Maybe not necessarily the timing, because like you said, they all altered at once. You clearly want to save some for the remainder of the fight. And that's actually what Hong Kong Attitude did. Didn't quite work out for them, but the placement of the ult was actually to deny a lot of the airspace from the defenders, right? And that includes a Sombra jumping up into the air to use EMP to get around as well. So.
All right, thank you very much for that, Smite. We're going to go into the control tiebreaker now, and I like that little intro that we see because it's like, which one's it gonna be of the three?
It's like the wheel slowly slows down and the ticker like locks on one of them. We're going to village.
Yep, that's the one. I mean, there's only three options.
Yeah. Bit of a smaller wheel. But it's exciting, and this is Golden Point as well, so this is the only one we're going to. Let's see who can do it, because Machi did win Lijiang Tower, which was the most recent control we saw. This is, however, Hong Kong Attitude's pick. And that's not even trade at all. This is so all over the place. No talk though, getting pressured on here, and good aggression out of Kant onto the backside, forces Shaolin back, but he gets CQB, gets out with his life. Now getting the pressure to Jin Kao. The response is there from a Ting, and still no one is the better for this opening skirmish.
And you're the one that pointed us on Lijiang, but Nonez died first. I mean, it's funny when usually the Zenyatta's die first, but when you're
no
Machi,
talk.
sometimes Nonez just dies first.
That was terrible. No talk tried to close out on a Ting because he saw a low health Winston, over-aggressed, got punished for it, and that has given favor over to Hong Kong Attitude. They do have to attack onto this point.
Lost
the match
cap,
were able to get onto, sure, but they're favored for that fight, and we're seeing that now. Kills coming up, Hong Kong Attitude. They will get the recap through.
A very quick recap through. Slight little bit of stall at the end there, so 10%. Nothing too big to write home about. Machi is still losing members, actually. They're not done losing members just
They're not
yet.
done dying. No talk. That sounded so gruesome.
Actually, the sound that you just made is exactly what I feel like. That's what you would sound like if you just got cut in the back, like right in the neck or something.
All right, that was a weirdly specific thing to say.
Yeah, like it has to be you. Like it's not.
Like,
someone
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Like,
Doesn't matter who you stab in the back of the neck. You hear my voice. It doesn't matter how many people I stab. I can't get his voice out of my head.
well, Hong Kong Attitude get a really. This next fight for them is
Whoa, boys.
absolutely fantastic. And Machi not doing great in a golden cap.
No.
By the way, we're not going to other maps on Nepal, Machi. So you gotta make sure this one counts.
Yeah, really, yeah. And look, that was no one guy. That was just good positioning by Hong Kong Attitude, and Machi not really respecting how well set up Hong Kong Attitude were. Now the ultimates are in favor of Hong Kong Attitude. It's close to even.
Still, they've been winning and they're still winning.
Exactly, it's close to even, but this is a hard ask for Machi. This is a trade to kick it off here, but K4 can still find more. Nonez, he is not fighting much with his ultimate, will get Mango, but again, need to get more. There we go, CQB out, Jin Kao forced out of the Mecha Ting, not willing to commit his ultimate, and Machi are starting to tip the scales on this one. We'll be able to get the cap back over in their favor now.
It took a little bit of time to get it over 71%. That is a lot to catch up on. And Hong Kong Attitude didn't even use all the ultimates. Machi ended up using just a little bit more. Now Machi is sort of waiting on everything to charge back up. And not only that, they have to rely on both support ultimates just to stay alive. And that's all they got.
Oh, that is a good something though. Kant getting a very early pick onto Shaolin. Now they fight through the sound barrier. They do actually get Kiyomi, so another defensive ultimate. Not on the table, but the aggression is here onto the backside of this one. K4, they're able to take out No Talk. They're still trying to get aggressive on this one. Kiyomi respawn can kind of flood this point on, and a Ting has been trying to keep the point itself alive for Hong Kong Attitude, but he's now a little bit surrounded, and actually Hong Kong Attitude are going to have to retreat.
A little bit unfortunate. Actually, Machi took a long time to kill Jin Kao there, and I kind of felt like you got two members focusing on one person that you're struggling to kill. What are the where are the other guys? Because you've got like a little. You got a 5v4 happening on the actual point while there's a 2v1 happening somewhere else. So Hong Kong Attitude need to be able to find these small victories and really push out Machi where they can. Machi's still sitting on a transcendence that they didn't even use. The big one was Cat killing Shaolin at the top of the fight. I think that's what really set the precedent.
Yeah, that really did. And even then, there were a lot of opportunities for Hong Kong Attitude to kind of get the better of Machi, but weren't quite able to convert the kills when it counted. Didn't quite take the aggressive positioning that they could have. So now they've got a bit of a tough ask. They do catch Nonez though, and that forces out the Transcendence, which is in a way a little too late. Now this is a very, very deep Winston. They catch D-Crown. The ultimate was committed out of Shaolin, and there's still a lot in the pocket for Machi. They have a self-destruct to force out Hong Kong Attitude. They can push this to 99% for sure, and that is if Hong Kong Attitude do even cap anyway. It is looking like it's going to go that way. Good catch onto Kant before that ultimate can come out, and I do believe No Talk committed a self-destruct as well, so Hong Kong Attitude get the cap.
All right, much like Lijiang as well, I believe this will probably go to 99-99 over time on both sides. Both sides got a decent run of ultimates. We did see that Transcendence come out of Kiyomi, and it's interesting because on Lijiang, Mango was dying as well. Now it's just Kiyomi dying.
This is the big one. If Hong Kong Attitude can just win this fight, yeah, that's a great start. They already got Kiyomi. Mango Jai committing his Transcendence. They can stay alive, but here we go. Now Nonez has a window. Let's see what he can get done with it. He's going to get right on into it, trying to get on the back line. They do pick Mango Jai, but Nonez forced out. He loses his life. Hong Kong Attitude are still in command of this one. Kiyomi is only just rejoining the team, and there will be no transcendence for him. No talk popped out of the mech. Hong Kong Attitude looking to get themselves back on the board in this series now as they start to close out all the kills on this point. Finally, the rejoin from Kiyomi, but it is a little too late. He finds his buddies dead, and he joins them in the Iris as Hong Kong Attitude on golden point will take one back, and we are going to a game 4.
Wow, I mean, even right down to, as much as I look, both teams are super close, even on this golden cap, overtime, 90+% on both sides as well. It could have gone easily either way, but the big difference I'm sort of noticing consistently now is, like I just said, Kiyomi dies, Mango Jai doesn't die. It used to be that Mango Jai and Kiyomi both die together on the other side of the maps, like opposite sides, but at least they're both going down. Now it's like you lose Kiyomi or you lose Nones, which is even worse.
And we saw that shift start happening on Lijiang Tower, so it's really kind of cool to see that that is still the case here on this golden point. And also, it did feel like Hong Kong Attitude in those, if you will, naked fights were just that one step up. And when by naked, I mean when the ultimates aren't really a factor, when they're not used, they are just out fragging. And even then in the ultimates the fights rather, where the ultimates are fairly equal, they're just out fragging. It did feel like they pushed it just that little extra level beyond Machi there. If they can keep that up now, coming through Escort and then back onto Hybrid for a final one, I think they can reverse sweep.
I think, yeah, moving on to Escort, right, is actually really huge for how well you use your ultimates, because it's not just capping a single point or holding the point like on Control. It's actually just a series of fights, getting that momentum going, and you need to be able to just conservatively use your ultimates enough to win a fight. One thing that Machi has been good at, though, is reacting to the ultimates coming out of Hong Kong Attitude's fights, right? They wait to see what ultimates Hong Kong Attitude are bringing to the table. So I think moving into Escort, Machi can do well if they play to that strength, but I didn't quite see it in that specific Control stage there, on that golden point, which is only a single stage. So it's not to say that it's not going to come out on Escort at all, but they've got to bring it back if they want to have that strength that I've been praising them for on the other maps as well.
It's interesting, by the way, because that one map win on Nepal is actually better than Hong Kong Attitude did at all on Lijiang, because they didn't actually get a single map win on Lijiang. It did end up being a 3-0 over in favor of Machi. So just sort of a bit of an interesting thing there. It almost makes you wonder if they, if you did go to the full 5 on Golden Point, which would be absurd. But like, it makes you wonder if they did, or even if they rematched on Lijiang right now, whether actually Hong Kong Attitude would have just kind of pushed it that one extra level, whether they are actually the better of these two teams. They just kind of had to warm up a little.
It's the thing is, it's not even like that. I would agree with that if it was like Machi won 100% and what Hong Kong Attitude got 30 or 40%. The fact is it was 99, 99, or just 90 plus on both sides, which means
96
realistically, Hong Kong Attitude had a chance to win all of the Lijiang maps.
Sure. But they never did. They never got it over the line.
They didn't, which is the big point. The point is they didn't get over the line. But when you really look at it, it's close enough that one very small change up, maybe one extra kill that they didn't get that they got, or one person that shouldn't have died that then didn't die would have been enough that they would have won a Lijiang map. And that's all it takes at the end of the day when you're this close with the other team.
And it feels like that could have been the case on that map as well for
Exactly.
Village.
Yeah.
So these teams, you said it before, this is the closest any two teams in this entire tournament have ever felt, right? And this is still a series that was...
Maybe Detonator Sun Sister week 1.
Maybe Detonator Sun Sister round robin 4, the second last match. Maybe that'll be closer. But currently, this is a very close match. But
The redetonation.
The redetonation. But currently, even though we were literally at 2-0 for Machi, right? And that was after a control map that was 3-0. You can look at those results, but you don't get the whole story at all. This is incredibly close, even just down to that golden point.
I want to go out on a limb here, by the way. This is going to be Machi's pick. I want to go out on a limb and say I think we're going to go to Watchpoint Gibraltar. Now, last time these teams met, actually, it wasn't actually last time, it was the time before that. We saw them on Watchpoint Gibraltar.
It was first round robin?
It was either first or second, but what it was absolutely maddening. It was absurd. It was
hilarious.
It was hilarious, and like in a good way for entertainment reasons, sure, but like in the worst kind of way in terms of like the actual quality of gameplay. Both teams looked sloppy and awkward and strange. Nothing was going right for anyone. But here's the thing. Escort favors momentum-based gameplay. I would favor Hong Kong Attitude at that, and we see that in those quote-unquote naked fights, you know, where no one's wearing anything.
Here's
and
the key to winning a
very
naked
scary.
fight is you don't look at the other man's junk.
That's all it comes down to. Exactly. You're just like one hand on your gun, one hand just like. So,
One hand on your other gun.
Hey, so the what actually? I'm so sidetracked here. What they are able to do is they are able to get momentum based off frags. What Machi are very good at is that ultimate economy when they have those static situations. And that's why they're able to kind of get this through on Assault. That's why they're able to kind of do these sorts of things. That's why they're currently 2-1 up, right? But naturally, Escort doesn't help them there. But the one that does the most is Watchpoint Gibraltar. That's a very long-winded way of saying I think that they are best off on that particular map, but even then, I still kind of favor Hong Kong Attitude a bit on this game mode.
I think for Machi, there's arguments for them to pick up Route 66 as well, because the compositions that they run, the Tracer Genji, really favors diving heavily on the defenders, who Hong Kong Attitude are very likely to run Soldier. A lot of teams run Soldier on defense for Route 66, and if you get a Tracer and a Genji and a Winston all up in Soldier's grill, he has a really hard time getting anything done, if not outright dying. So there's arguments for Machi to pick up Route 66, but hey.
Or we can all be wrong, and they can just go to Dorado.
I think they're going to go to Dorado, and that's fantastic because we're going to go straight to Dorado. Machi Esports picking. Dorado's actually been now, and probably still is, just the most popular escort pick. It's the King's Row. It's the vanilla of the escort picks.
Tell you what though, this is, if we're talking about those naked fights, this is Machi having some big cojones because Hong Kong Attitude beat Blank on Dorado last night. And Dorado is a great map for Blank. Just putting that out there.
It's a good one.
That's pretty terrifying.
They also won Nimbani against Blank, I'm pretty sure, as well. So
They did.
there's that as well. So, I mean, I think Machi already, the fact that they've taken, they're already 2-1. Well, they got 2 maps in there is already a very good sign. A very good sign of where their place in the tournament is. If this is Hong Kong Attitude, who beat HQ, who beat Blank, and now Machi are actually ahead in the series, I mean, this says a lot about where Machi is as well.
I suppose.
Yep.
Can't argue with that
one. So once again, thank you very much, Smite. We'll see you at the end of this map. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Hong Kong Attitude, you could just be right, like momentum-based maps, Escort exactly is that. I would even say Control is a momentum-based game mode as well for very different reasons. Momentum for the progress and that kind of stuff.
Certainly.
But, you know, momentum here in terms of the attackers, how they're going to move through with this sort of cut. And look, Hong Kong Attitude could pull this one out. We could be going to Game 5, and that's quite exciting.
Yeah, I'm feeling the Game 5 here. It felt like a bit of a hard turnaround in Assault, but they're past that now. You know, they were able to do it. It may have been just barely, but Hong Kong Attitude are in for a fighting chance. I feel like they are now into, if you will, the half that favors them in terms of map types. Because also, if we do go to a Game 5, Hybrid can't go back to Hollywood. And the other ones, again, they are a little bit less static than Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, the other ones, the other hybrids are just a little bit more standard. Yeah, Hollywood's that one hybrid where you start to get a little bit of weird compositions coming out. The other ones you don't really. So one thing I was going to say is Machi so far tonight haven't been a team to really bring on Soldier. They are going to do that now as their first defending team.
DKB scouting Hanzo. He'll spot a little bit of it out, and then he is back onto the Lucio. And this is a very hard dive combat of Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, it's still very standard. Both teams just kind of run this. Hong Kong Attitude's run definitely a lot more Soldier, but they're going to do the Genji Tracer to start things off. Nice spot out by Nonez, by the way.
I wonder if that was actually blind. I don't know if they actually saw him, but I mean, the damage connected, so now they'll know. You get that little indicator on your reticule when you do deal damage, and how Hong Kong Attitude getting aggressed upon a little bit here. Gonna have to try and break through this one.
Now, Tank's going to dive in early, keep Nonez alive, keep Kiyomi alive. That's going to be...
But lose no talk smack.
Huh?
Lose no talk smack, and then Kant dies.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, this is now broken. Machi have to retreat to the courtyard here. Hong Kong Attitude can get it past the archway, and that's really all they needed to
They
get
got to
that
retreat more than this. They can still die here.
This is that momentum-based gameplay I was talking about, where Hong Kong Attitude are able to get a lot based off these single frags.
And they could still get more. This is difficult for Machi because they're waiting for regroups. They still lose no talk, so that one's going to come back super late. At least with 5 members, I do believe they will be able to hold, and they should attempt to actually make something happen here.
This is really good. They didn't actually kill him, but they've stalled him. He now is finally just rejoining this fight here. They haven't actually been able to convert kills in that window that they had, but Capable getting out with his life for now is big for them. The cap is very close. They're committing an ultimate onto D-Crown, but great timing, amazing timing. D-Crown has to retreat. Kiyomi is dead. Now D-Crown gets picked off by K4. Does trade his life for that, but this is all Hong Kong Attitude are going to need to get this one over the line, get this first cap through, and they are looking to do this at breakneck speed.
Super quick as well. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic in terms of momentum for Hong Kong Attitude. Even getting more kills. If Shiloh can pick up a couple extras here, kind of deny the spawns. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude don't have to stop. Hong Kong Attitude can just continue killing spawners, deny the high ground, play that as well. And, Pulse Bomb, a good stick around here, anywhere will be great.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal for them, and they are looking for it here. What they can find. K4 is a Dragon Blade as well. Look, they have all the tools to just make the space for the payload, and that's how they want to play. So they're committed to the fight. They're forcing out, early sound barrier forces out the defensive one from Machi. Good sleep. Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude still trying to open something out. The Dragon Blade doesn't quite get the jump up there, and that is a good tactical visor to at least zone them a little bit. They're able to get a couple of kills through anyway, though, Hong Kong Attitude, and No Talk the only one to get a trade back. Sheldon still holding on to that pulse bomb, and now Nonez is getting forced out in all kinds of directions. They do get a good catch onto a Ting, who was unfortunately not quite able to close out the kill, but in all this, the payload has continued to move.
Yeah, Shiloh not going to pick up the kill, and just CQ be a little bit disappointing. I think he got his Pulse Bomb eaten as well, so great plays by Jin Kao. Kind of denies a kill, denies an ultimate. Hong Kong Attitude are going to keep pushing through.
Yeah, that's what really counts when all is said and done. So sure, both teams just kind of threw a lot of ultimates out, and kills came up one way and kills came up the other way, but the payload hasn't stopped. This favors Hong Kong Attitude still.
Definitely, and they got a lot of time to play with. Now this is going to be a little bit of a bigger defensive commitment on Machi as well. Where's the Primal Rage? I want to see what D-Crown is actually. He's going to be one of the key sort of players to keep that card still.
Good aggression actually onto Jin Kao and then also onto No Talk, but Jin Kao's mech catching No Talk while he was out of the mech trying to use his self-destruct is huge for Hong Kong Attitude. This is all they need to push it over the line. They catch D-Crown, absolutely slam dunk the team through, and now Machi will be trickling out to this final defense if they are going to commit to it. Shaolin again going to look to go forward, catch a pulse bomb, but this should be a second point cap for Hong Kong Attitude.
Machi might actually, they might not let this one through just yet. I can still see a few members around, and they are going to go for this.
They are, but like I said, trickling on. This is a little bit dicey for them. Jin Kao a little bit low though, but they managed to catch Restia, who was there for the contest. K4 opens up straight onto Kant, and now they're looking to close this one out. The only thing they've lost is Mango Jai. Poor guy can't catch a break, but they are going to get the cap through, and that is all that matters.
That was a little bit of a token stall right at the end there. What they did get for Machi either way is they got the Dragon Blade out of K4, so this is now the sort of place where Machi can hold on out. This is now where Machi can sort of mount that hardcore defense. We talk about momentum, we talk about actually moving through the map. This is where Machi get that static defense. They don't have to move anymore. Put your tent up here, bunker in. This could be the place.
Something about pitching your tent. In any case, very dicey situation for Machi. Nonez looks to go in. They do actually get Mango Jai, but they had to commit the sound barrier so that Nonez could get out alive, because otherwise Hong Kong Attitude would have had a big window. And they're going to aggress onto Nonez anyway, closing it out. K4, they're opening this one up anyway, despite that early pick onto Mango Jai. Maybe the wrong target to be diving onto, and the mech is not there. Machi.
Gong.
Yeah. Gong indeed, that is the team kill. They did at least get a couple of trade kills there, so there's still a few members of Hong Kong Attitude who are just rejoining now, but the payload once again underway.
It is underway, but Machi, you know, the closer the payload actually gets, I think Machi gets a little bit stronger here. They play closer to their own spawns. Ultimate's still up. Double ult commit now.
Second time, Mango Jai just can't catch a break, but once again, history repeats. Kiyomi is going to be the trade kill for them. K4 has to put his blade away, but so does Nonez, and he goes down for it as well. They've got the supports out of Hong Kong Attitude. This self-destruct doesn't find much, but it does create a little bit of space. They're still trying to keep this payload moving. Good catch on Restia. They are trying to close out on D-Crown, but they just force out the ultimate for now. Let's see what they can do to close this one out. They are struggling to get this one any further. Machi look like they might have just found a spot to dig in their heels.
Absolutely, this is the best place for Machi to dig in their heels as well. This is like the Cap 2 of any assault map. It's so close to your spawn. You had ultimates to play with as well. You had the Dragon Blade out of Nonez. It didn't get too much done, but it got a little bit of mileage, and that mileage meant Machi give an inch, take a mile, and they were able to close up the defense. And the first time, I would say realistically, on the entire Dorado defense, where they have stabilized.
Yeah, but even then, it's not a full stabilization, I feel, until they have won the second fight, because this is still the opportunity for Hong Kong Attitude to regain that momentum. Let's see if they can pull it off.
Well, that's going to be the Transcendence commit now to Kimo. So
Very early.
It is because they committed it before K4 used the Dragon Blade. In fact, K4 might go down if he's not careful.
Oh, he's pressured onto the side. He wasn't able to get that health pack. He's trying to get someone. He's barely getting topped off. Thank goodness for that Transcendence out of Mango Jai. They don't get much from that blade, but they drew a lot of people into that corridor. And Hong Kong Attitude regain the momentum. No one's dead. Not quite getting the gong sound there, but now this is just sort of pithy contest out of Machi. They are going to stagger out of the base now, and this is going to be Xiaolin's opportunity to stop the respawns as they come through. D-Crown out for the count already. No stall from him. The DPS comes out with no healers. The healers come out with no protection, and they're falling into disarray here. The sound barrier, it gives Nunez a few seconds, but it is not enough time. Hong Kong Attitude cross the line with 1:18 left.
And Hong Kong Attitude are so good at converting kills once they get a couple on the leaderboard. They say, okay, here's one kill, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and suddenly 6. 7th one came out with a pulse bomb as well. That was really important because D-Crown needed to live to give the other DPS space to actually breathe. I kind of said this before, but the order you respawn in and who's actually alive when you respawn is really important in those final moments. If the DPS is going to come in and the tanks are not alive, they're just going to get melted straight away, which is exactly what happens when D-Crown dies to a pulse bomb. No one else can get anything done. Hong Kong Attitude, easy cap out.
And by the way, that is the difference between Xiaolin and a lot of other Tracers. A lot of other Tracers would have seen D-Crown and gone, look, I'm going to go past him to try and kill the squishy people. That's easy for me to do. Xiaolin went, if I kill the tank, there's no protection for the squishies. And I've got a pulse bomb. I can kill this tank. I can do it right here, right now. Let's do it before his healers could top him off. Very, very good split-second decision-making out of Xiaolin. And that made all the difference.
Hong Kong Attitude, you know, that was a strong performance. If we look at some of the other maps tonight, we look at, you know, close performance so far in Lijiang. It was Temple of Anubis was sort of 50-50 from both sides. Both teams kind of made mistakes there and whatnot. Hollywood was not a good showing, unfortunately, for Hong Kong Attitude. Now when we look at Dorado, at least on the attack portion, very little to complain about on the Hong Kong Attitude side of things. A lot more to be worked on for Machi.
Yeah, absolutely true there. And that's the thing, right? I talked about how actually Hong Kong Attitude is good at that momentum-based gameplay, and we saw that from start to finish. Now Machi, they actually have to match that.
That's going to be a tough ask as well. I think Machi's best course of action here is to get the full cap up, but I'm not expecting it to happen at the same speed that Hong Kong Attitude got it in. And Machi only had that one stabilized fight where they won one defensive fight, kind of stuck around for a bit, and you said this yourself, but it doesn't feel like they're stabilized until they got their second fight, when they never got that second fight, when they just lost again when Hong Kong Attitude regrouped and re-attacked.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to come out of the gate with a Pharaoh, though, to try and get some early breaking of this defense here to kind of take the high ground there. It's doing a little bit of work here, getting some good pressure onto CQB, but they've really had to convert kills, and it doesn't happen.
That's a big, important kill.
Tank getting picked is really huge. Looks, Hong Kong Attitude, they do kind of have to wheel around. CQB will finally lose his life, but Hong Kong Attitude, they are going to be able to get into that second defensive position, whereas Machi won't. He was there, by the way, because Can't throw him. Yeah, poor guy.
That's really interesting. You just one lonely zone Zenyatta there. He was 100% dead, but the fact that he killed Kant, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. Kind of forced Nunez to deal with him as well. Now Machi actually got a decent amount of pixel to go through with, and this is starting to look like what Hong Kong Attitude did to Machi on their attack. You know, they just find a couple of picks off the side. You never get a big full-on skirmish. It's just like, hey, I found a pick. Hey, I convert that into a second pick. Suddenly it's a 6v4, and now we're pushing on for free.
And that's the thing, I said that there was a window for Hong Kong Attitude to wheel around and take that defensive position in the courtyard, but they didn't opt to do that. That wasn't an opportunity Machi had on their defense, so not doing that means Hong Kong Attitude are now in a bit of trouble here. They are just barely going to be able to get back into this courtyard, and luckily they have absorbed Kiyomi's ultimate already, but they have to convert kills. They've already lost two members, and that is not happening. All they've got in response here is no talk, and they're just going to get completely routed out. They do at least bleed the clock down. That is something for them, and they get a couple off the backside of it as well. Xiaolin's still trying to wreak havoc here. Actually, he's got a pulse bomb up, could maybe try for something, just a little bit of extra stall. I wouldn't disagree with it altogether, but no such contest going to happen, and they do get the payload through.
So here's the thing about Machi's lineup. They are playing triple DPS, and it's an awkward swap because No Talk's taken up one of the support roles. If you're Kiyomi, you can't easily go back on a support unless No Talk swaps off. Machi running this, they're kind of stuck on a triple DPS, at least for the time being. Ultimate's charged up as well. It's volatile. This can end at any point. If Hong Kong Attitude get a string of a couple of good picks, especially against Machi, you're not going to be able to resupply too quickly. Your health pools are far too low. Machi are going off a lot of momentum, but they can lose that at any point.
Yeah, and they've got the ultimates to do it. A good commit to catch Mango Jai, but it is traded back immediately. They're getting the good aggression on it. This is the strength of triple DPS. D-Crown, a lot of health in the pool and the sound barrier as well, so they're able to keep the fight going. But they haven't quite converted enough kills just yet. K4 barely alive but stays alive, forces no took away from the fight. And here's a window now for Hong Kong Attitude to convert a few more. And unlike Hong Kong Attitude's attack here, where the payload was continuing to move, Machi have at least been stopped up while this fight has been happening.
And that's because Hong Kong Attitude can actually get some trades. You'll notice every single fight, Machi don't actually cleanly win that fight. If they lose a member, maybe it's Kiyomi, maybe it's Kant, whoever it is, there's no way Machi actually get a clean fight where they don't get anything wounded on their side as well.
Good commit though by D-Crown to get onto these backliners, but he pays for it with his life. This is Kant trying to get a big opening, trying to use these resets. They have got a couple of kills for it, but wow, this is going to force out the Transcendence from No Talk so that they can keep the momentum on their side. But without committing the kills into it here, it actually means Hong Kong Attitude kind of have an opportunity to swing back now because all of these members are very, very vulnerable. And they pick up a few, they lose a few themselves. But even is fine right now for Hong Kong Attitude because once again, the payload hasn't been moving. Now finally underway, once again, Cape will shut down mid. Tac Visor is going to mean Machi might just be able to get it over the line here.
And 1-for-1 trades is exactly how this entire game has been so far. At least in the streets portion, it's starting to finally get in the way of Machi. You can see that because the cart is getting close to that actual cap. But as soon as the cart actually goes through, I mean, I think this is going to be a lot more harder for Hong Kong Attitude to deal with. The momentum from Machi starts to build up quite rapidly.
It certainly does, but they have got a bit of an opportunity here to defend. But DCR1 going aggressive now.
Good sleep.
Oh, great sleep. And they can just kind of leave him there to nap while his ultimate runs out. That was very, very important. And that means the backline is now vulnerable. Kant trying to go aggressive, but he's kind of having a hard time of it. Hong Kong Attitude going equally aggressive. And now they're just sort of relying on raw damage here, Machi. They have, in a way, been stopped up. The clock has been played for a solid minute and a half now.
And still the 1-for-1 trades continue. Kant's got to try and find a little bit more here. And it's going to end if Machi can't really, they can trade anything back because what Machi's lineup is designed to do is they have so much damage that it doesn't matter what fight they take, they should be able to get a decent number of kills, really try and swing the fight with either one of their three DPSs, but I don't know. I kind of said at the start as well, it's volatile in the sense that it could really explode in your favor or it just doesn't, it explodes against you.
Yeah, and in that particular position, the 1-for-1 trades didn't help. Like I said, while they were busy fighting, the payload wasn't actually moving and Hong Kong Attitude were just barely able to kind of keep it together. Unlike when Hong Kong Attitude were doing the same on their attack and they kept the payload moving. So now we'll have to see if Machi can get the momentum back going in their favor. The sound barrier is a good move towards that, as known as opens up. Tac Visor gets something good for it. They pop Jin Kao's mech as well, and they do look like they're going to start getting this one through. The cap should follow soon after.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, but they have lost a lot of time.
They have, and this is one of the few fights where Machi actually don't take any losses on their side. So when that really happens, and they're still getting kills onto the front side, and this lineup is so mobile and fluid enough that they can continue getting these kills. And so the snowball effect starts to really happen for Machi here. The more kills they get here, the more distance they're going to get, and Hong Kong Attitude have to just regroup. I don't think Hong Kong Attitude can really take a fight until they got all 6.
Yeah, they have just barely been able to get the respawns through though, and Machi didn't get any further kills, so Hong Kong Attitude in with a window, trying to get a few more ultimates up, but Ken is trying to shut that down as best as he can, doesn't quite make it work. Here's the window, there's the commit. K4 getting aggressed upon though. I don't know what killed him there. There's no dive point here. Someone surely must have got that kill credit somehow. It's Ingo going aggressive with that nano boost. Didn't really find anything. Pops his ultimate now on a bit of a wild goose chase. Rejoins the payload now, but he can't actually get damage. He can't get quarter traps here, and the rest of his team is getting aggressive on. Shaolin was sticky before he went sky high there. They're trying to at least bleed the clock as best they can, but if that's all they're playing for, you're playing without a win condition.
And Machi is still pushing this card on through, still have ultimates in the back, and they have another DPS ultimate. This guy gets the strength of running triple DPS. You always kind of got one in the bag, and you're just waiting for Kent to pull it on out. But he's got no health.
Big shutdown. CQB catching that. They get a trade back onto Mango though, and the nano boost onto a Ting has to once again get a lot of work, but it's not quite happening. These are once again awkward, even trades, but D-Crown with that Primal Rage could be what swings it in favor of Hong Kong Attitude, because that is now a resource not on the table for Machi, and they have just barely been repelled.
And 1 minute 15 left to go, and Hong Kong Attitude have had a lot more breathing space than Machi ever had on their defense, and still Machi just looking to snowball these fights. It's the only way they can really win. Just try and get a couple picks, then use the power of triple DPS and just continue getting more and more and more picks and just not really worry about anything else here. So now we're starting to stack up a couple more ultimates. 2 DPS ultimates, they can get a lot out of this.
Yeah, and Hong Kong Attitude don't really have anything on the defense. What they have is a sound barrier to buy them time. Good early catch though onto Restia. But the trade back is there. They're going to have to commit the sound barrier very soon if they don't want this fight to go completely all right, but they still haven't committed it as they lose a Ting. They're still just trying to bleed down the clock here, but this is a dangerous way to play. They're not actually drawing ultimates out of Machi, nor are they getting return kills. Luckily, they have stayed alive until the respawns can come through.
Yeah, they need one of these defensive ultimates to really keep them in these fights.
They catch Jinkao, and this self-destruct is not going to get much. It doesn't even get much space. Nonas is now finally going to be forced a little bit out of the picture. Shaolin, though, now he's starting to open up, and this is a Transcendence forced out of Machi, who suddenly find themselves with no ultimates left. K4 getting taken out, though. This is still anyone's fight. A Ting can stall for a long time, and this will go into overtime. But Machi, they're starting to lose members here. Hong Kong Attitude may just be closing this one out at the 11th hour. Yes, they are! Push the last few members off. No overtime there, and the series is going to a Game 5.
Wow, what a... I gotta say it again, a nail-biter, because right at the end there, Hong Kong Attitude, better respawns, I think, but Machi, despite that, able to get even trades. I just don't think Machi were able to find a good win condition. They had a lot, which is essentially triple DPS. One of the DPSs could be, but realistically at the same time, it just can also be the case when none of your DPS can get anything done. Known as in that sort of situation, chased out by both tanks. Tactical Visor couldn't get anything done. Kiyomi couldn't really find enough. Kant couldn't really find enough either. And at the end of the day, they had 2 support ultimates, and I don't know if those were applied properly to keep the DPSs alive.
I feel like it says a lot as well about Hong Kong Attitude that on their attack, they were better at the momentum game, right? And that is reflected in the fact that they push it through to the end. It was consistent, it was constant. They were moving the payload. They were moving the payload during most of their fights, and I've mentioned this during the game. Machi actually weren't doing the same. Machi were running triple DPS, which lends itself to having high momentum, and they were probably maximizing the momentum you can get out of triple DPS, all things considered. Hong Kong Attitude did not really get much breathing space on their defense, but their defense was still better than Machi's, and their offense was better than Machi's.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. The offense was definitely 100% better, but the defense was better in the sense that a lot more actual times where you feel like they stabilized, a lot more times when they actually repelled an attack and just had a couple of moments to just regroup and reset up the defense. Machi never got that until right at the end, and that was even when they got it was very brief, and Hong Kong Attitude was kind of passing the baton to Machi and then just stealing it away from them straight afterwards.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is a nail biter because hell, I feel like I've gnawed off my fingertips.
That's terrifying, man.
That's why my hands are below the desk, you'll notice.
Okay, I won't look down there because I don't want to see the result of that.
Oh, right.
Or that,
yeah,
I
naked
guess.
fights.
But yeah, it did feel like Hong Kong Attitude on their attack were just constantly in a team fight, right? They were constantly positioning aggressively forward, and it felt like at every possible moment they were catching someone on Machi out, quite often Kiyomi, but constantly, someone was being caught out, and then Machi were just on the back foot for the rest of that fight, even though it felt like the majority of, well, all of first checkpoint, all of second checkpoint, and then halfway through the third checkpoint, all just felt like one long extended team fight that Machi were just constantly trying to reinforce.
And by comparison, I would say Machi's attack did feel similar in that it felt like the teams were constantly fighting, but it felt like they were constantly trading evenly, whereas Machi weren't ever quite doing that on the defense. So it's not even that, you know, Hong Kong Attitude got this team wipe and repelled them. It was even, and it meant that the offense was constantly slowed down. Even though it was always moving, often it was just barely, and for most of the fights, the payload was stopped. And then it would get a bit of distance, then stopped again and get a bit of distance as these trades kind of staggered their way through. And it felt like they were just sort of tumbling their way forward, and that naturally lends itself to the defense finally kind of flicking a switch when the position ultimately favors them on point 3 and go, nope, you're not going any further, and that's exactly what happened.
And that's kind of like, we talk about momentum as well, and the fact is, when you look at Hong Kong Attitude's attack, they win a lot of the attacks outright. You look at Machi's attack, they're winning, but slowly, like you said, and they're getting quite even trades, 1-for-1 a lot of times.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get the 2-for-1s. That's when they really push it ahead, but they're always losing members. I sort of noted there's never a Machi fight with that triple DPS lineup where they're not copping losses on their side as well. And that's a big deal because as long as they're losing members, their momentum is slowed down.
Haven't been to a Game 5 for a while, by the way. It's been a good long number of weeks.
I mean, this is the kind of game you want to go to Game 5 with, because 2 closest teams in the competition going to Game 5, that's just the storyline in and of itself.
And the fact that the turnaround for Hong Kong Attitude came from Golden Point for Assault, I mean, This is intense.
And it's also essentially the deciding match for 4th place, as you can see right
big
here.
way, absolutely.
Machi, if they do beat Hong Kong Attitude here, that should be enough, assuming everything else goes as normal and these teams beat all the teams below them, then Machi essentially secure themselves that 4th place spot.
The unfortunate thing, though, on the flip side of that, if Hong Kong Attitude win, they are better than Machi. They go ahead and beat AHQ after that. Arguably, they are better than AHQ Esports Club, and they wouldn't be able to make that top 3, but man, they would be there in spirit.
I think that'd be about right. They would definitely feel like it, and it's just unfortunate that Hong Kong Attitude, kind of much like Machi, because Machi had that first round robin where their performance was a little bit disappointing. They were in 5-ball spot in number 6, and because of that, they lost so many points that they could have had. Look, they could actually really be contesting top 3 right now, Machi, had they had a better scoreline in that first round robin. And Hong Kong Attitude as well.
Exactly.
Had they had a better scoreline in the 2nd and 3rd, because they had a good enough scoreline in the first round robin. 4th place, that's good. 2nd and 3rd round robin though, Machi took that from them and they had to really climb back up. Now they're in a great spot themselves. And for both teams, the story is, you know, just a couple of bad mistakes and bad scores earlier on cost them
And the thing is, like, look, what if Hong Kong Attitude had beat Blank when Blank were at their lowest? What if they, got that extra win there on top of beating Blank just now? What if they'd beaten AHQ? It's hard to in the 2nd round robin, but I don't know. What if they'd done it in the first one? What if they had picked up an earlier win than what they got now? We would be looking at a very different tournament. And it really does feel like both of these teams could have actually done that at any given moment.
It also doesn't help that, just back to the leaderboard stat, that the team currently in 3rd place right now they were originally 1st, right? So they racked up a whole lot of wins during the 1st round, and then so the top 3 kind of got shuffled around and had even wins at some point. Generally, if it had gone the same way as the 1st round robin, you would have had a 3rd place team, which was much more achievable at overtaking by the 4th place team.
Well, it feels like if you actually restarted the whole tournament now, or started a new tournament now, you actually wouldn't know. It'd be difficult to rank some of these teams. Maybe you would say Flash Wolves first, but from 2nd down to maybe like 6th, it's like, what does that look like anymore?
I'm glad I don't write power rankings.
Well, it's certainly
we haven't talked about the map pick, by the way.
We haven't, and it's going to be King's Row. So again, thank you very much, Smiters. We're about to actually get into that now. And it's the final map of the series, but it actually might not be the final map, because what if it goes to Control again?
My goodness, if this goes to another golden
It'd be the first time we'd have a double golden point in one game.
Actually, I'm sorry to do this, but actually back before the changes to Assault, we did go there a little more often, and I believe there was one series where then we also had a drawn result on somewhere else. We have gone to a double golden point before, though.
Okay. I'm not going to go through the history and check for that, so I'll just trust you.
Thank you. Actually, no, we can't have, because we now see more golden point on non-assault. We see it on hybrid sometimes because of the different percentage mechanics. So actually, I may just be lying to you. I think we've only ever been to golden point before.
I'm also not going to check through the history to confirm that you're lying to me. So you'll just...
All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Whatever you say
I can just say anything. Yeah. Did you know that... And I can't think of a good fake fact here. So never mind.
Talk about naked fights again.
Did you know that actually there was a naked fight in week 3 where the teams were actually nude? But you're not going to go back and check, so how do you know? Well, let's talk about this naked fight, because already Mango Jai getting picked off.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, poor Mango Jai every single time. And then CQB goes down as well, means Hong Kong Attitude's first attack handily repelled.
It actually isn't always him, because throughout the other 2 maps that we've seen most recently, it's been more Kiyomi. But since Kiyomi was playing DPS on Dorado, at least for their attacking portion, it wasn't really Kiyomi. So again, this is like Kiyomi saying, I just don't want to die anymore, guys. I'm going to play DPS. And Hollywood, he was like, give me another support, because I want more healing, because I don't want to die anymore. So there it is.
Very astute observation. Guys, I'm sick of dying. Someone else play support. In any case, good aggression here by Ating. If they are able to close out D-Crown here, that would be good, but D-Crown fairly safe through this one. So Hong Kong Attitude do just kind of have to bide their time. Now looking to go for the re-engage, as they've kind of caught Machi in a bit of an awkward retreat there. Pop rest here. Force out No Talk into full retreat so that he doesn't lose the map. And while that's happening, they're able to get some aggression onto D-Crown. And good trades back though. Machi just barely able to hold on for a moment there. They're still losing members. Nona's getting forced out. Can't, unless he gets a hero pulse bomb here.
So many low members.
Yeah, this is really, in a way, it's still anyone's fight. But look, Kant is in a position to turn it around. But Hong Kong Attitude have the respawn advantage. So they are able to kind of reinforce this point faster than Machi. They are getting the 2nd, 3rd through. And this looks like it's going to go the way of Hong Kong Attitude.
I was going to say, Machi looked like they were having having that, and then a couple of return kills from Hong Kong Attitude. Now there's not enough progress remaining for Machi to
Very back and forth.
actually be able to sort of recontest here. What Machi are going to be able to do quite well is regroup with enough members to force out, to make sure that Hong Kong Attitude can't get a momentum snowball fight and lock them into spawns or anything. You're definitely going to be playing around the bookshop here. In fact, even before that, we're going to play in the archway.
Archway. Ooh, spicy.
Especially if K4 goes down.
Yeah,
and
rest in
Machi
pepperoni.
is going to get a lot of good positioning here.
Yeah, Kant going to go very aggressive on that. Needs to be careful not to lose his life for it, though, and he is actually going to back off. So Hong Kong Attitude do get themselves a little bit of space to get through the archway, but Machi, they're willing to now take the fight on the other side.
And Hong Kong Attitude got a decent respawn advantage here. So,
Ooh,
they lose a member early, but they can just sort of reinforce there. That self-destruct gets nothing.
It does get nothing. It was kind of forced out because I think the pulse bomb, not the palm. Though I suppose Tracer is a palm herself.
We are also on King's Row.
Well, in any case, it forced out the self-destruct, but now this is an aggressive move by Hong Kong Attitude with this Transcendence. They need to close out a few more kills with it, though. The Dragon Blade found nothing, and now after the fact, they're finding a couple of K4 traded back, but they get rest here anyway. They've got a little bit more legs left in this fight here. Hong Kong Attitude, a few more ultimates at their disposal here. D-Crown may want to commit this. In fact, he is going to commit this, but I'm sure he's got the nano boost on him, but he's going to have to retreat anyway. He doesn't really have any other members with him. Nona's only just respawned. The payload is back underway for Hong Kong Attitude, and they've actually got more ultimates now.
Absolutely, that fight was so much better for them. They even saved the two ultimates, like you said. And getting now decent car push. Machi should be able to take a fight around this next corner. Shouldn't be able to let the cart get to a point where it can just reach that final cap. And this is actually a good place for Machi to defend if they can actually hold this next point, because this is where the respawn advantage slightly then favors them going into this, and they're actually waiting long enough that a couple ultimates do come online towards the end for them anyway.
Jolin unfortunately finds nothing with that pulse bomb. I do believe that got eaten. And now Can on the backside trying to get pressure. Yeah, oh my goodness, this is like, honestly, grass, green, sky, blue, Zenyatta dies first. It's like the black guy in a horror film. This is unfortunate, dude. They just cannot catch a break. But Hong Kong Attitude, they are the ones converting further kills after killing Kiyomi.
There we go. It's still fairly even. Self-destruct might not pick anything up, and this is a good place for Machi to be able to defend. You see that car position. It's still not even around that last bend just yet. Resty getting picked down early. Cat needs to find a pulse bomb, I think.
He really does. He's going to try and connect it. They do actually close out on K4, but Canda's in a lot of trouble here. Shaolin getting very aggressive here, is trying to close out a few more members. They're actually going to have to kind of back off here. They weren't quite able to convert enough kills to get the payload over the line, but Hong Kong Attitude did look very close to it, and they've still got plenty of time to do it.
Exactly, and now this is where Machi start to get really good on that defense. Like I said, respawns are even enough. I'm not going to say it's actually favored for Machi in the defense, but it is fairly even on both sides. Both teams got a really long run distance to get to this cart, and as we approach the overtime, which
I like
is
that
going
it's
to
got a
happen about
reversing light.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry to kind of cut you off there, but I only just noticed that. That is,
well, safety first.
yeah, I like road safety on my my weapons of terror, because that is an electromagnetic pulse device attached to that vehicle.
At least it'll not knock down any of these very grey and drab buildings, right?
Yeah, or if there are any elderly Omnics crossing the road.
Oh, they'll be knocked out for sure.
No, because there's the reversing light. What if the payload made a sound and started going like doot, doot as it backed up? Well, here we go. The open now from Hong Kong Attitude. The can opener is there, and let's see if he can cut down some Omnics. Trying to get his counterpart, but the Transcendence is there now out of Kiyomi. No one's got any kills either way, as Hong Kong Attitude forced to use their last defensive tool here, the sound barrier known as pressured out. That's a big one for them. He was really the last major ultimate in the pocket of Machi. They're only just barely able to convert one back onto Jin Kao. K4 getting pressured, but he turns it back around onto D-Crown. They should be able to get this one over the line. K4 rejoins the fight. It is just Kant, and now it's not even Kant, and Hong Kong Attitude are back over the line.
And Machi not going to be able to get any defense there. Known as respawns, Dragon Blade available. Going to have to hold it for that third cap. Now Hong Kong Attitude still got a lot of momentum. At least Machi bought a decent amount of time. Still looking at 2 minutes. The last time I was sort of really checking the timer, we had just under 2 minutes left to go. And that's when Machi first were able to hold right at their second cap point. Now 2 minutes remaining still. It does, as the car moves towards this actual third spawn, it does get a little bit better for Machi. So,
and now that ultimate that Nunez wasn't able to commit is able to come out, but Mango There we go, and he's not going to die to the dive from D-Crown as they convert the kill onto Kant as well. D-Crown has to retreat. Hong Kong Attitude get aggressive, and suddenly Machi seem to have overextended. They find themselves cut off up a tree without a ladder, as it were. Hong Kong Attitude converting the kills through. Payload back underway. All the ultimates in the back pocket, and they're poised to push this all the way through.
There's a lot of kills for Hong Kong Attitude as well. Nothing in return for Machi. No ultimates there either. They're definitely on their last legs here. Hong Kong Attitude have a lot to use. They've got so much to play with it. They have to really misplay this to not win off this push.
Double deflect. They just saw each other like, deflect.
both players
No
were scared.
one's shooting any projectiles. They're just deflecting nothing. That was great. That was classic Genji
You shoot.
panic.
No, you shoot.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, look, Nonez is the one actually being pressured out here. K4 has the ultimate. They need to kind of pounce while they've got this window.
And they're wasting a lot of time, I think, because Machi are now sitting on 3 ultimates. That's going to be a kill, so now the aggression starts.
Yeah, it does. It forces out the Transcendence from Kiyomi, but this is Mango's one committed as well, plus the sound barrier from both teams, and the kills are still coming up Hong Kong Attitude thanks to the self-destruct. They're getting a few more over the line as well. Good one out from No Talk to create a bit of space as D-Crown goes aggressive on the backside, but now he just kind of has to leap back to rejoin his team, a team that is dead, and D-Crown's going to lose his life for it as well if he's not careful, barely able to retreat, but he has to heal up before he recommits to the fight. The healers have only just respawned, and Hong Kong Attitude, they're trying to keep everyone kettled in the base. They are inches away now from the cap, or rather meters. We use metric here. We're on the British Isles. The pulse bomb catches D-Crown, and Machi's starting to crumble. Hong Kong Attitude, they're just getting more kills, more frags, more distance on the payload, and they're going to get more points capped as well. No return kills for Nonez. Not going to get enough to make it happen. Hong Kong Attitude, they push it over.
And this now starts to look like the Hong Kong Attitude that just beat Blake. Not the same Hong Kong Attitude that lost 2 maps to Machi at the start of the series. We're getting closer and closer to a potential Hong Kong Attitude victory and a potential Hong Kong Attitude reverse sweep. And Machi, that's going to be a little bit tough to beat. The good news for them is they held out until the overtime. That's a lot of, I guess, good news for them in the sense that, look, if they can cap it out before the overtime, in the time bank, they'll be heavily favored. So that's got to be their goal coming into this.
Hong Kong Attitude look in the zone. Maybe the only thing that's at play here is Machi, by merit of having played a series before this, kind of, came in a little bit warmed up, and Hong Kong Attitude took games 1, 2, and then most of the assault up until Golden Point to kind of get equally warm. But now they are looking hot. They are looking on fire.
Like, if they were just warming up on the first 2 maps after how close specifically Lijiang was, I mean, if you're going 99 to 99 warming up, then you got a lot more to go.
But that's the thing. They've gone a lot more now. They actually do look like the better of these 2 teams.
Still, though, not quite over just yet. I don't want to count Machi out until they're really out. But Dorado wasn't really convincing from Machi, which is unfortunate. Now, Kings Row, final opportunity for them. Like I said, overtime is still a decent defense. Because if you're going to get capped out fully, then you get capped out fully in overtime is about as good as you can get after that.
This is honestly going to come down as close as it possibly could, short of this Game 5 actually going into time bank, which is unfortunately now no longer a possibility, but I still don't know if this is actually...
You can go to time bank.
Well, okay, we could, but it would only be for Hong Kong Attitude, sorry, for Machi. Heck, we could even go to Golden Point. If it gets capped out in overtime, we go to Golden Point again. Maybe that's where this one goes.
Exactly.
Maybe that would be a very
I would have been the one to predict that too. I'd be like, hey, you know what? We could go to double Golden Point.
That would be a very poetic ending, I think, to the rivalry that has kind of existed between these 2 teams as they have jostled for 4th place over the course of this tournament. And now it has come down to Game 5 of Kings Row. What a fitting ending. And already, first attack repelled very, very quickly.
Great kill by Shaolin as well. You actually see the assist coming out from both the supports there, CQB and Mango Jai. So just called orb onto him. A shot from Mango Jai as well. Shaolin on the back line. A great 1-2-3 kind of play from all the teammates. Just working out. And on the back line as well. Great stuff.
Just good stuff. Just great. Just good Overwatch. A team getting
still a palm.
Yeah, a team getting a little bit forced back here, so already looking a little bit better for Machi. They have an opportunity to set themselves up for this attack if they so choose, but Kant getting picked out hurts their chances a little bit of getting a solid aggression onto this point. They may just have to go into retreat. That is exactly what Nonez is doing. Hong Kong Attitude need to be careful to not get too greedy themselves, though. They can't really chase this one up and go for a route.
Still so far, Machi waiting for an opportunity. They're being super patient about this, and you can kind of give that to them for the time being. Eventually, they're going to make a move. The onus is on them to do something. While Hong Kong Attitude kind of sit pretty. Hong Kong Attitude have built up a decent number of ultimates.
Oh, that's a something. That's a big something. That's a pulse bomb out of the picture, and this forces the commit now. No, it's going to go aggressive. Great find for Mango Jai, and already they're looking good for this one as they catch CQB as well. Ting, I believe he did receive the nano boost, but he didn't really get much done with it.
He's stall.
Yeah, has to stall with that ultimate. They've probably lost this fight, but they can bleed down the clock a significant amount, so that will at least be something. K4 has only just gone down, and Shaolin may be able to rejoin this fight. Ting's actually still alive there, was able to pop No Talk's mech. They've forced out a Transcendence as well, so this is actually a really good job by Hong Kong
Ting
Attitude.
missed his jump.
Yeah, to run down the clock a lot. Ting unfortunately misses his jump short, but Hong Kong Attitude are actually kind of rejoining this fight a little bit now with that Transcendence of their own. They need to convert some kills though. If they can do that, they might just be able to pull something out here. If nothing else, they have burned a lot of Machi's time, but the cap will still go through.
They burn a lot of their time, they're burning a lot of their own ultimates, and now they're still losing lives, and this is going to affect their ability to actually get a good contest defensively because...
Oh, hello.
Whoa, this is so last minute. What even is that cap? It's like got to be 99%.
It has got to be. It is excruciatingly close actually, but they're actually turning it back on. Ting has now rejoined this fight. Jinkao with the self-destruct gave them just enough space. If they can avoid the self-destruct from No Talk, never mind. 2-die cap goes through. Machi underway. Hong Kong Attitude on the back foot on full retreat and getting absolutely steamrolled on the route. It's all coming up No Talk as he gets himself a play of the game. Surely.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, because for the entire time Hong Kong Attitude were going for the recontest, I'm thinking here, like, I don't think they can do this, and if they don't, it's going to be disastrous. They're going to lose a lot of members. They've already spent a ton of ultimates. Machi are charging these ultimates back up. They're going to be heavily on the momentum game, and on top of that, Hong Kong Attitude have no opportunity to mount up an effective defense, not where they want to anyway. We're already going to get past the bookshop. Hong Kong Attitude are going to have to play at the actual second cap.
Yeah, they really are. They're going to try and go for something here now with the Ting getting aggressive, but Nonez is able to commit his own ultimate here. Go and hunt a killer. Who's going to go first? It's Mango Jai. Poor dude, poor dude. CQB, though, he's not going to be quite so lucky either. Looked like he was going to get out with his life for a moment there, but now the Transcendence is going to keep Machi topped off as they keep this one going. Hong Kong Attitude are able to retreat and regroup.
Card's contested.
Yeah, the card's contested because K4 was on it, but he lost his life for it. They're actually still contesting it. This is a Ting now doing this burning his ultimate. Yeah, it's buying time, and it has actually burned down some ultimates for Machi, so they will be able to get another fight at this last point.
This is going to be a really staggered, poor fight, I think, for Hong Kong Attitude to try and attempt this now. They've got to wait for a Ting to come back in. They might actually be able to do that. The card isn't moving as quickly as I thought it would, and I will say Hong Kong Attitude definitely go for this, considering where they're standing currently.
Yeah, they really ought to. I mean, that was why they stalled out the cart. That was why they did what they did. But Jai Lin getting a little bit forced out, and it's going to have to really get a big pulse bomb here, I feel, to crack this one open. They have some tools, but they have to get a lot with them. There's the pulse bomb. They catch DCR1. They're able to get the damage there. K4 still a little bit uncontested. He's on the low ground, though, so it's a dangerous position to be. He doesn't want to open with attack visor just yet, but they go for the route. Shailin loses his life, but they trade back onto Kiyomi. Ting is staying alive through this one. K4, he's barely alive. No Talk gets another good self-destruct, and that might just be it. In fact, it almost certainly will be it. Machi still have the members, and Nonez is getting aggressive. Get your CQB. That'll earn him an ultimate as well, so they can start to blast open this final point. Good running down to the clock once again, but this is starting to hurt Hong Kong Attitude rather, more than it is helping them, because now they have to hold for a whole 3 minutes.
And Machi have an additional minute to what Hong Kong Attitude had in the exact same spot. I said this when Hong Kong Attitude played blank last night, but if Shailin goes down, then K4 shoulders the weight of the whole team. And if K4 can't do it, then entirely Hong Kong Attitude start to fall apart. That's exactly what happened in that last fight. Against blank, K4 was managing to be able to hold. Against Machi, at least in that last fight, couldn't do it. This is the result.
Now they have to burn a lot of Machi's ultimates. They do not at all come close to matching theirs. That's an early sound barrier, plus the Dragon Blade, no nano boost available at all. They don't even have an Ana. K4 opening up with attack visor. Notice he doesn't find anything. That forces out a Transcendence as well. So they have actually burned out these ultimates from Machi, who haven't really converted many kills. And now the kills are coming up Hong Kong Attitude as they pop No Talk Smack and get Restia as well. And catching Kiyomi on the back end. Good aggression there. Kant not able to really find anything in return. And Hong Kong Attitude, that was the ideal defense.
Absolutely, because they forced out every single one of Machi's ultimates, maybe bar one out of D Crown. So that was an interesting one. It kind of reminds me of Temple Anubis again, when Machi sort of walk in with all these ultimates. You expect them to have a really good fight, and unfortunately they couldn't get one through. Hong Kong Attitude now stabilized in a good place as well, but still 1 minute 45. This is about how much time they had when they attacked this point anyway.
They put the Anubis onto a team. Good initiation to catch Kiyomi at the top of it. This sets them up nicely. They pick Restia as well. And if this is the only ultimate they use, that would be so huge for them. They're actually going to commit a self-destruct as well. I don't know if that was necessary, but it did help secure the fight. But hey, 2 ultimates for a fight win, you'd be happy with that.
Actually, Machi now, they're sort of in the place where Honko Attitude is stabilized enough, and there's not going to be any more momentum coming into next few pushes. They got to actually find a different sort of win condition. Maybe that win condition is Kant finding a good pulse bomb kill. He managed to get another one pretty fast as well. He used the first one onto a Ting in the previous fight.
Looking
also
for
the
it.
Primal Rage, but here we go. Getting K4 would be huge.
Yeah, he doesn't actually go for the stick. Now they're going to go in for the recommit when the biotic field is down. They're actually setting 3 people in for this, but they know that they can't overcommit to that because while they're committing 3 people onto the side, Honko Attitude can get more. That's the stick, and Mango Jai is down and out for the count. No return kill to come through just yet. And well, now it's all
K4,
coming up, Machi.
that could be big.
It absolutely is big. K4 still alive, but there we go. Closes out right at the end. D-Crown getting that. But the contest is still there. Honko Attitude will get a round of respawns thanks to a Ting. It is going to be a 5 versus 6 on the point at best. It is a tall order, and we're not in overtime yet. They have to burn out the overtime.
30.
Who's on it? Oh, they just barely got to it. 0.72 meters, and they are stalling this one out for dear life. There is just over 20 seconds to stall out, and they have to bleed the full time there. It is going to be a tall ask.
Oh,
they're not
wow,
getting
they're
the
losing
kills
so
through.
many.
They are losing so many, and there's a Ting trying to desperately stall it out. That's all they've
the
really
last
got.
one.
The respawns, they're not there. It's going to be Mango to do it. Oh, no! And they're going to go to time bank. Both teams will get themselves a minute. It just barely clicked into overtime there. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Don't even know what to say about that one. That was...
Bong me.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Actually, Machi ended up having a better attack. As much as we say, look, you know, Honko Attitude, at least in Dorado, better attack, better defense. This time around, pure time-wise, Machi played the momentum so much better. And I think Honko Attitude just got punished more. It all came down to that first cap defense for Honko Attitude, where we were kind of saying, are they overcommitting here? Should they just back out or not? They committed anyway. Double kill from No Talk on the self-destruct. Massive turnaround for them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what set the stage, and the rest of Honko Attitude got routed. And the second stage defense, which was the streets, that was the biggest losing point for Honko Attitude because they got no good defense there, pretty much at all. And because of that, Machi went into the third cap with an extra minute. That 1 extra minute made the difference between getting the full cap out into overtime or not.
And I feel as well, that was the theme of the whole defense there for Hong Kong Attitude. They continued to commit. They were playing a very scrappy game, and it worked for them on Dorado. It didn't work for them here because each and every time, right at the worst possible moment, Machi would suddenly pick up a kill or 2 with a crucial ultimate, and Hong Kong Attitude would have to kind of go into retreat. Now they're going to be first to attack here. This is going to be very, very interesting. They really do not have much time for this.
There's only 9 seconds between both teams, so anything can happen. And I'm going to say here that whichever team actually caps will probably win. If both teams cap, I don't know if both teams can cap because it's going to be hard to do it in 1 minute.
It's going to be very hard. Good aggression out already, but they aren't actually converting kills. Trying to get the response dive here is D-Crown. Still anyone's fight. A Ting goes down. This is going to have to flag a retreat. Hong Kong Attitude have to all get out now, or they lose the opportunity to get a second fight.
Yeah, they're going to have to just get one fight and make it a good one as well. And losing too many players here will also start to feed ultimates. This next fight, I expect to go on for a decent amount of time. Both teams will be scrambling for reinforcements. Ultimates will come into play. Whichever team gets ultimates first, it's going to have a huge advantage. And that could be Shailin.
Yeah, and he's got the pulse bomb. Oh, it just barely got eaten up. That would have nearly been a stick on the D-Crown otherwise. Now Shailin trying to continue the aggression. It has to be all go for Hong Kong Attitude. Jin Kao loses the mech, though. That is not a great position to be in. They have yet to get anything in return.
Oh, no.
They're losing members. Machi cleaning it up. The nano boost is big, and they mop the floor up. Hong Kong Attitude, they didn't get a single kill in that. Even Kiyomi looks like he will get out with his life. Indeed, he will. That was heartbreaking, and now they have to hold Machi in similar fashion.
Not a single kill, not a single percentage on that cap as well, and it just started with a Ting dying. Even just looking on the faces of Hong Kong Attitude now, they know they're staring into the faces of a possible defeat. This is an incredibly tough situation to be in.
I'll tell you what though, they were here not too long ago when they were on Golden Point on Assault. So,
They know how tough this is because they know this is the match that kind of decides who's going to get fourth.
there's a lot riding on this. I mean, it's this is the match. Like, this is probably the most important match these teams will play in this round robin, short of maybe picking up an upset. So there is so much now riding on this defense for Hong Kong Attitude. This is just the pressure, man, that has got to be hurting them.
Oh, this is it. This is the final moment. This could be the make or break 1/3 cap. I think Hong Kong Attitude can hold out. I mean, it's possible. It's actually fully possible. We just got another golden control point.
Maybe.
And 1 minute 09. It's 9 extra seconds. The biggest thing will be, you know, for Machi, it was not allowing any deaths to go and not allowing Hong Kong Attitude to get any kills. Hong Kong Attitude on defense. Realistically, they could have a very similar defense and Machi feel the pressure as well, because it's, while Machi do maybe believe they're ahead, it's absolutely not over 1 minute 09 to get 1/3. I've seen teams not get that at all.
Well, we just saw exactly that. 1 minute and Hong Kong Attitude didn't get a third, but Machi looked a lot cleaner on that defense than
Triple
Hong Kong
headshot.
Attitude did on their attack. Let's see what they're able to do, whether they can hold.
It's a lot. Oh, Ting, that could have been the first kill.
And Restia is getting pressured. He's able to top himself off. Now Kant's getting pressured on the side as well. No kills either way just yet. This is so tense.
It is, and at least Hong Kong Attitude, you know, they're happy to bleed down the timer. All this time that Machi are not committing, Hong Kong Attitude are like, cool, you're not getting a second fight out of this, so we'll take it.
This is actually the point at which Hong Kong Attitude had to retreat. So now Machi, they do not have an opportunity for a second attack, but they are on the point. Eventually Hong Kong Attitude have to commit to this one hard, because if they
Mango's
give up a
got it
third,
all.
they're
Mango
done.
has ult.
He's got it. He's got to commit it as well. They need to convert kills. Nonez is in trouble. They're trying to close it out on him. That's going to be the boost onto a Ting, who is trying to get run to the backside. Kant pops Jin Cal's back.
Oh,
That's a big pulse bomb, and that could be all they need. A Ting is now desperately trying to keep it alive, forces out the ultimate, and they've got D-Crown. They've got no talk smack. They might just be able to turn it back around. Shaolin is keeping this one on lockdown, and I don't believe it. My goodness, my gracious, we are going to golden points on the 5th game.
Is it even possible? Apparently it is. I predicted it, fellas. I'm a magician.
You're a wizard,
I'm a wizard. I'm a wizard.
You're a wizard, Avril. This is so intense
All right,
now.
if you're a Machi fan and you got a second plushie, you got to bring it out now, because
Raise your
it's the
plushies.
time to bring out an extra plushie. I know they got two, because I've seen
Wow.
Restia hold both of them up. I know there's a second plushie. If you're holding it back, it's time to stop holding it back.
Gentlemen, where are we even going to go? We actually can't go back to ones we've done before,
So
if I'm not
Oasis
mistaken.
or...
So there's a 50% chance of being
It's
right.
either Oasis or
What's the last one?
Ilios.
I'm calling Ilios.
This is
Where-
funky.
you
This
got- you
is
got
funky.
Oasis.
And this is actually where that home side advantage can really come in, because this was also Hong Kong Attitude. They were able to pick the control map now every single time. It landed on the first, landed on the third now when it went to Golden Point, and we're landing on the 5th again. It's all in their end of the court, man.
Can you imagine if we just went to well and it was just ridiculous?
Just everyone's
Everyone's playing
falling
like Roadhog.
I'll tell you what,
Farah.
Restia is already getting like double boops on Lijiang, so maybe that works out pretty well for Machi. This is
Yeah, avoid Ilios.
kind of chaotic here. What I don't want to see, no matter what happens, I don't want to see a triple DPS out of either team, especially not out of Machi, because their triple DPS is super awkward. No Talk has to play a support, and Kiyomi has to be the one playing the other DPS. It's weird, it doesn't work for their team. Nona's on fire as well. Mixed results. Maybe don't bring that out. Both teams are likely to go Genji's Tracer, and maybe
Hong Kong Attitude might run the soldier.
maybe K4 brings out a soldier, but I'm expecting Genji Tracer on both sides, because that's the best that they've done. In fact, just Zenyatta, and Winston's Genji Tracer, Lucio, whatever it is, both Mango and Kiyomi can have an awful game. But yeah, it's just
No,
kind
but
of
that's a key thing
Poor
though.
guys.
Protecting those guys, either dive incredibly hard onto the enemy team and actually kill their Zenyatta first, or protect your own one. And this might come down to whether Hong Kong Attitude do run that soldier, because if they do, then they have the option of just shooting the big monkey scientist when he jumps in.
Now, this feels like a grand final, I gotta say. Like,
Yeah.
This is probably
This is intense.
Well, that's also a thing, right? Fatigue is now going to come into play.
absolutely
Hong
is.
Kong Attitude still have another series to play, and
Oasis, boys.
darn it.
Oh, we're going to Oasis.
Got it in a 50-50, that's cool, don't worry about it.
So, like I said, naturally, this kind of counts like going to control again, and that you can't go back to maps you've already played.
They're teasing us. They're like, which ones are going to go to?
Whoop, 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 whoop. We're going to university. This
is City Center.
No, sorry, you're quite right. This is City Center. This is indeed City Center. So no Sombras, nothing spicy, nothing too odd. K4 on the Soldier. Golden Point, it is one single point. Whichever team wins it now wins it all.
You got to win the entire map though. So it's not whoever caps first. So whoever actually wins this one map of Oasis. We've seen Hong Kong Attitude many times, specifically on City Center. They do like to play the Soldier here. This is part of their standard play. Already taking advantage of that high ground, and Machi are gonna play elsewhere, except for Kant, who's gonna try and get a little bit of a cheeky play on the backside.
All trying to commit to it, but they're having a bit of a hard time of it. So they have to drop back down to the low ground. But this now actually puts a bit of pressure on Hong Kong Attitude to commit to the point, because Machi are the ones on it. The cap is going over. Someone's going to have to contest this. No one's contested it yet. They finally get onto it as they convert the kills. There we go. That's what they were holding out for. That's the advantage of taking the high ground. You have to convert the kills before you get onto the point itself, but they do exactly that. And now they're starting to swing this one around for themselves. Need to get a few more, and catching can is the way to do that. They're looking now poised to win the fight, cap the point, and take it home.
Yep. Pretty good opening from Hong Kong Attitude, and that really sucks if you're Machi, because this is not a clean defeat, at least in a fight. You're losing pretty much your whole team right there. You didn't see the gong, you didn't hear the gong rather come out, but I would go as far as to say 5, maybe 6 members went down.
Yeah, it was as close to a team wipe as you could get, and really the only ones that were still alive had just respawned.
And close to ultimates as well. So Hong Kong Attitude should be able to get a decent amount of momentum off this. We talk about Escort being a momentum-based map. Now you get to see why Control's momentum-based as well. Progress counts for so much here.
Again, the commit by Kant. He's really looking for that Pulse Bomb, and now D-Crown can commit to this high ground as well. They're looking to throw out a ton of ultimates. Good. Pulse Bomb catches K4. Great opener. They do almost trade back onto No Talk Smack, but he's able to slip away with that one. D-Crown, though, he's kind of had to bump around to the side here as the fight takes its way on the point now. Kant getting a few more through. Hong Kong Attitude kind of struggling to get the extra kills, but they're getting good pressure onto Nonez here. Shaolin really needs to do a lot of leg work. K4 is actually able to rejoin the fight, and the Ting has bought them enough time to do so. This is not good enough for Machi. They need to be getting cleaner wins or cleaner losses. What they've got is in between, and what that gives is time to Hong Kong Attitude.
A lot of time, a lot of progress, and ult charge as well. A couple of return trades from Machi, but they need more because they're getting traded back
still not clean.
Way heavier. You're right, because they're not losing cleanly and they're not winning cleanly. That kind of spells a lot of doom for them. Already over 60%. Machi on Lijiang by this stage, it would have been 30-30 instead of just 61 weight.
Nonez died as he committed the Dragon Blade, has opted to swap onto Soldier now, and now has to charge up that entire ultimate. They only have time for one good fight.
Oh man, this could be a really disappointing game if it goes 100-0, and that's not what not at least what I was really here to see in this final golden cap.
Oh man, good open onto a Ting, but K4 looking to trade it back, catches Kant. This is anyone's fight still. Few more return kills could come up the way of Hong Kong Attitude, and there they go. Losing K4 in the process though, but they're about to get it over that 90%. Shaolin, he's still alive and still scrapping through this one. They're going to push this one as far as they can, committing sound barrier as well. They want to take it right now, but that could hurt them. That could be a bit too greedy. There is more ultimates in the pocket of Machi. Hong Kong Attitude aren't actually getting kills. Sticky out. They do catch No Talk, but he commits to self-destruct. They are not quite able to close it out on the pilot. He will get back into the mech, and they've taken out Jin Kao's mech for that one. Hong Kong Attitude there still drawing this out.
Absolutely, and Machi can't afford to give this one up either. We're already into 99%.
Good contract.
K4 dying early means a lot. Oh wow, Shaolin as well. That should be now the turnaround. Hong Kong Attitude, I think they should just get out of this one. They don't want to give away too much over to Machi.
Yeah, look, at least they can just kind of get it with one good fight. They've got Jin Kao self-destruct, but they used a lot of tools in that as well. And now Nonez is actually closer to his tactical advisor than K4 was. Now Machi had the high ground. This is the first time Hong Kong Attitude had to contest this. Machi, they now had their foot back in the door.
And the big difference here is you have an Anna versus a Zenyatta. So on one hand, better defensive capabilities, on the other hand, better offensive capabilities.
They've lost the pulse bomb there. Didn't actually quite close out the kill.
That kind of sucks. At least Hong Kong Attitude got a couple of other. Hong Kong Attitude got a couple of other ultimates to use there. For Machi, that was a pretty important one for them to hold on to.
Here they go. This is the commit onto the high ground and already looking quite good. Really kind of forcing Machi's positioning around a little bit. They commit the nano boost as well. They've got a good open onto Kiyomi. They're trying to force out Nonez as well, who still does not quite have the tag visors. They caught D-Crown in that as well. Nonez, there we go. He's forced out. Hong Kong Attitude. Their kills are coming up their way. K4 just barely screams out. Oh, good catch by Can to close that one out. But there aren't many members left as No Talk gets closed out in that pilot mode. Hong Kong Attitude, they haven't got the cap through just yet, but they have all the members down. Here goes the cap. It's 99%. Who's here from Machi to contest now? It doesn't look like anyone.
There needs to be someone. Decra's the first one, and
He
Force
is.
Bomb goes wide, so
Oh, dear.
maybe Machi can play this one. They got no ults though.
But they've got the self-destruct still. Hong Kong Attitude have a lot of zoning potential, and Shylin has closed up Decra. They catch Restia, and that could be all they need. Known as opening up the attack visor, but he's just not finding anyone, and he has to take a dive. My goodness, where did that even come from? Shylin did go down, but he's the only one, and Hong Kong Attitude have it on lockdown. The self-destruct will come out from No Talk, but he won't be able to get back in the mech, and Jinkao held on to his throughout that entire fight. Kant goes down. They can commit the self-destruct, but they don't need to, and they did it. Hong Kong Attitude. My goodness, what a marathon effort. But they have 4th place on lockdown in what has got to be the tightest, the longest, the hardest series of this tournament.
And it's not even over yet because you still got AHQ to go right after this. So if fatigue is an issue for your team, well, I'm sorry, but AHQ are ready to play after this.
Tell you what they are, but Hong Kong Attitude, look, maybe they had to take that entire thing to warm up, but I mean, you've got to be buzzing off the back of that to win it when it came so close. And they were in the driver's seat. Not just on that, but also on Nepal's golden point. They have actually turned it around to look like the stronger of the two teams in this reverse sweep, even though it came down to the wire.
And I've got to say, I don't actually care about the rest of the series. MVP is going to Shylin for that golden point match. He went absolutely bonkers. He was just killing absolutely everyone. Absolutely amazing play from him in that map specifically.
That's got to be a tough loss for Machi.
I was going to say, I was looking at Machi and sort of the post-match handshake.
Even the
there.
plushie was frowning.
I mean, Hong Kong Attitude, as they walk past Machi, they're collecting the handshakes and they're also collecting the 4th place paycheck as well, you got to bet. So it's a tough one because for Machi, this was their final opportunity, and a team that had such a meteoric rise after that first round robin and held on to 4th place for a decent amount of time, round robin 2, round robin 3. Hong Kong Attitude though, that storyline of them sort of falling down in the middle of the pack, in the middle of the tournament, and then finally in the last few stages, in the last round robin of the tournament, then coming in, reverse sweep as well. It almost felt like a best of 7 because you got the extra Nepal and Oasis in there. So
Kind of was.
Well, let's not forget as well, the 3rd map went to a draw. That was a tiebreaker. Hong Kong Attitude were literally 1 control map away from losing, and then they brought it back. 3 map wins in a row, 2 of those being tiebreakers.
This was so intense. Like this series itself is like a microcosm of the journey of these two teams, right? I mean, Machi swept up and took that 4th place in the tournament off Hong Kong Attitude, and then Hong Kong Attitude kind of middled through. They struggled. They couldn't reclaim it, and now at the last possible moment, with everything on the line, with no more room for error, they do actually reclaim their 4th place back off Machi, who robbed it of them. That has got to be an amazing feeling for Hong Kong Attitude.
absolutely, I mean, 14-10, there it is. Sitting nice and pretty now. Machi Esports with 13 losses. Unfortunately, that's just a few too many losses for them to climb back into the 4th place. And well, you must consider as well, both of these teams have made fantastic progress throughout the entire tournament. Even just the result here speaks a lot. If we're considering that Hong Kong Attitude are a team that are strong enough to beat HQ, strong enough to beat Blank, and even at the end, they're still nail-biter throughout the last map. And King's Row went into the Golden Cap. 2 maps going into the Golden Cap is like,
Wow.
what? So
It's the first time we'd ever seen
so
that.
for Machi, you know, if Machi got to play Blank and AHQ again, you almost think these guys got a really good shot in those matches.
I mean, regardless of the outcome, because obviously we're still not finished with the OPC just yet, not even the round robin stage, but regardless, the legacy that these two teams are going to leave on this for their teams themselves is incredible, right? Of course, there's Machi, who was sitting at 6th place, and as you were just saying, are now a team that looks like they could take on Blank and AHQ. Flash Wolves may be a bit of another story, but that's still a fantastic result considering where Machi used to be. And then, of course, Hong Kong Attitude. It may have been late, but they were finally getting the results that we were expecting of them from a team like this.
And what an interesting way to kind of approach the end of this tournament now, where we started off with this dominant Blank, and then we had this dominant AHQ, and then we had this dominant Flash Wolves in the 3rd round robin, and we sort of went, well, what's going to happen in the last round robin? Who's going to be this undefeated team? It almost doesn't actually matter, because the key thing is there is only one undefeated team. The other teams are all picking up losses to all kinds of teams. The first round robin was everyone beat the teams below them, lost the teams above them. There were no triangles. It was very neat. It was very tidy. And this is the complete opposite. We've got Flash Wolves and then anyone's game.
And it all started with Machi beating the Flash Wolves. It's all their fault.
Oh, man.
A nice tidy leaderboard.
It actually does look, it looks really good when you have a leaderboard that everyone has a loss somewhere down the board. You don't want, well, maybe you do if you're the team, but overall,
You'd like to be undefeated,
for the
yes.
entertainment of the tournament, you want to be able to see rather close games across the border. You want to be able
Case
to
in
see
point.
You want to be able to see, you know, not just close games. You want to see teams losing to other teams, being threatened by other teams. If this was just 28-0 for Blank or for Flash Wolves, it would be much less of a competitive tournament. But the fact is now that you have games like this where, man, Hong Kong Attitude can just beat the other teams, and not only that, but if Machi are this close, well, maybe Machi can do that too.
Exactly.
Makes things really competitive.
And speaking of threatened, look, now AHQ are under threat in the series they're about to play. They have to reclaim this from Hong Kong Attitude, who they lost to in the last round robin. Like, this is actually looking really scary for AHQ. They aren't really the favorites coming into this.
This could be another map 5.
This could be.
And one more thing as well.
be a long night.
With Blank's loss
For Hong Kong Attitude, actually.
Yeah, definitely for Hong Kong Attitude. But with Blank's loss to Hong Kong Attitude last night, it actually puts them at threat of not being second place anymore. AHQ can overtake that. But if Hong Kong Attitude also beat AHQ later tonight, then that threat's no longer there anymore. Blank should pretty safely stay at that second place spot. So Blank are going to be watching this next series on the edge of their seats.
I mean, you kind of said that last night, actually, in picking up that loss to Hong Kong Attitude. Suddenly, Blank's second place was completely out of their hands, and it relied on Hong Kong Attitude first beating Machi and then beating AHQ, because they wouldn't be able to beat AHQ if they weren't able to beat Machi, we felt. So, this is, I mean, it's halfway there if you're Blank, it's halfway there if you're Hong Kong Attitude, it's all scary if you're AHQ.
Okay. Player of the game goes to CQB, and I'm going to be funny and say he got player of the game because it's like, well, Mango died a lot and CQB didn't, so there you go, he can have it.
The one support that didn't seem to die quite so much.
Yeah. It was like, he lives, so he must be really good for living. But,
He died a lot as Torbjorn, though. I mean, I'm glad they gave it to him on the Lucio because his Torbjorn was actually a bit bad.
Was he the one that got the double boot?
Oh, no, Vesti got the double boot, but we are going to have a chat now in the post-match interview with Mango, which Cha will translate over. That was pretty tiring. He says, yeah. Why was it so close today? We didn't look too good to start with, and that's why we had to pick it up later on.
For the first time, I agree.
我们会觉得还好啦，因为我们平时在宿舍里面也是训练很久。
So yeah, we
打那么久的。
Yeah, we practice playing games that go to that long as well, so we are used to it.
那当初你们就是有选择了这个进攻害影嘛，然后那时候就是有吓到对手一下，可是这一次他们好
So
像
you're
针
still
对你们
so you're still playing the attacking Sombra, but this time Machi also played aggressively with Sombra as well.
因为始终神庙出哈影防守方会比较有优势，然后
It does affect us a little bit, a little bit more difficult to play with.
就变得我们没有优势，会没有一个很大量的补量，所以他出一个哈影就会。
And so the counter Sombra play from Kent does actually make it interesting because whichever Sombra gets the leg up has a big advantage.
和尚的站位变得很不错，因为通常对方就会先想要收掉你嘛，可是你都没有死掉就是你甚至还会收掉对方，这个是因为队友保护的很好，还是你自己的意识？
So there are times that the supports go down quite early. Like what's happening there? Who's actually keeping who alive?
所以一直给他们抓到，后面我自己就有想，就是开始。
So at the start of the game, I got killed a lot, and that was because I wasn't playing too old. Later on throughout the game, I started to play a little more selfish and try to look out for my own survivability a little bit and really figure out how I can live.
是不是就是队伍私底下有说，就今天绝对不能输？
Was today very high pressure? Where you're saying you can't lose?
要全胜，要快点全胜，好不好？好啦。
And he's saying absolutely, this was a big match for us that we needed to be able to win, and we're going to go over on the counter interview as well. And it's going to be a member from both sides. And if I'm not mistaken, Randy and Rai. Randy we've never seen before. Rai we haven't seen for a very long time, so this should be interesting.
跟大家自我介绍并问个好。
大家好，我是 HKA 的 Randy。
大家好，我是 N17的 Ray。 对，这边可能跟 Randy 聊一下，因为过去还没有上过场嘛，那
We haven't seen you yet.
可以练习一段时间了。
You've been
那可以
practicing with them a
问
long
一下
time.
就是说你现在是几岁？
How old are you?
我现在是16岁，
I'm
那
16.
你有随队一起练习吗？
So who do you practice
就
with?
是他们想要我上的时候，我就会上，
All right.
就
Well,
是
when
跟着他们一起练。
when they want me to
没有
play
上
on
的
match,
时候就是
I'll
在
go
打
on.
包比。
哦，就是
But I'm still a
是
sub
你
currently.
大家在练习的情况之下，你会在旁边去看。
Are you
然后
usually
就是
watching
训
during
练完
scrims
你
or?
就是作为第三人称，然后去看两边的自己的队伍练习。
对，
那队
Yeah, I
伍
do
有没
watch a lot
有
as well.
就是教练有没有预设你要打什么位置？
What kind of
就
positions are you
是
playing?
看哪一个位置就是打比较不好，就会可能就换掉。
所以
Whichever position is kind of weak at the moment is something that I'll be playing for the team.
瑞好，就是你从第一个循环有上场。
So you played in the first round
目前
robin,
看起来已经到第4循环了
but now we're in the
中
fourth
间
round
3、4
robin.
循环都没有能够上
We
场
haven't seen you for
对
3
你来
whole
讲
round robins
会
now.
不会觉得那个等待有点辛苦？那第二个问题就是，你会不会觉得今天你上场就赢了？
Do you feel like if you played today, Machi would have won?
觉得今天我上场，不知道队友都打。
I think it's too hard to say. I think everyone played very well.
不见得会赢，
不好说，不好说。
不好说。
I can't really
有可能
say.
会赢有可能。那我们问一下，就是说你在这段时间等待时间会不会觉得很辛苦？好像都没有办法轮到你上场。那
Has it been a very difficult time for you, sort of playing in the sub position?
其实
麦克风拿近一点。
其实还好，就
It's not been too bad.
就平常练习就。
I still scrim with the team.
角色池，
I still learn a lot with the team.
或许之后就看到。
那你是不是明天会上场？
Do you think you'll play tomorrow?
明天会啊，明天会。
那最近
I think I'll play
有没有
tomorrow.
角色可以跟我们分享。
How is that going to go for you?
源氏
I'll probably play
好
Genji.
像看起来好像就是说法拉、闪光这样的一
We've
个
seen you
角色
play Farah and
是
Tracer
不是
before, and
那
maybe
就是那个
76.
源氏所以你上来的话，谁会下去？
So if you play, who steps down?
浪子他那天有事，所以我替补这样。
So Nunez would probably step down if I play.
对，那我想问一下两位对于今天自己队伍的一个比赛的一个状况有没有一些心得？都打得很好啊，因为最后就打到3-2，而且是打好打满。那
So
对
it was
于
very
来讲
close.
前面是
today
2分，我觉得好像第3章快要赢了，可是后面输掉会不会觉得很可惜？
Temple of Anubis was
一个
super, super close.
队伍哪一位选手的表现最好？
What did you feel about the performances?
打得真的超级紧，然后
是
看得很紧张。
It was very stressful watching actually,
我觉得 Ken 的表现，
and Kant was especially quite good.
然后就大家都尽力了，
是。
是
But we all
很
need
精
to
彩
try.
的场
We will
比赛
still need to try
真的
harder.
打好打满，打得非常精彩哦。那么，当然我们也请 Randy 分享一下，你觉得今天，因为其实对你们来讲是逆风飞翔，逆风而逝，因为前面是0-2，然后后面3章
So today was a reverse sweep.
逆转，而且第4、第5章都是打到延长，然后打到一张控制类型的地图，最后可以拿下。
And you played Golden Cap as
获胜
well.
的关键来自于哪边？
我觉得是双方输出手的发挥吧，
嗯，
就是我们两边闪光都打得非常接近，
So both traces were very
我
close.
们就是略胜一点。
闪光
And
的
I think
部
we
分
just edged them out at the end.
对，
那你觉得两边的一个源氏呢？
What about the two Genjis?
我觉得今天浪子的发挥是比我们的人士发挥好，可是
I think Nunez was better than K4 on Genji,
整体上的一个细节
but
的
we were
配合
sort of better overall in other parts.
对，那这样子应该瑞明天就会上场了。
So maybe Ray will
祝
play
你
tomorrow.
明天比赛可以顺利啊！
谢谢谢谢。
希望你可以上完这一场以后都看到你。
So I hope that we
那
can see you
Randy，
tomorrow
期
so
待
that
你
you can be on
下
there.
一次尽快来到场上，让我们看到你的一个表现
And。maybe for Randy as well.
谢谢
Hopefully we'll
两
be
位
able to
谢
see
谢
you
我们
play
讨论谢谢
in an actual
好
match. So
观众
thank
说
you very
拜拜
much from both players. So there it is. Both of the subs on both of the teams. One player we've never seen before in a match, and one player we saw very early on.
Yeah, I kind of miss Rai. He was there in the first 2 weeks, maybe 3, I think. Yeah, I just remember his Farah. That was the first thing we saw.
Well, maybe we'll get to see him tomorrow. That is
At
what
the
they
same
claim.
at the same time, though, as soon as he swapped out and we are what we have with the current Machi lineup, that's when they had that amazing win streak through
Yeah.
beating Flash Wolves and whatnot. So I mean, it has been working out so far for them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree. Again, also Randy, another 16-year-old player, by the way. They're all really, a lot of them are quite young.
Absolutely, definitely a lot of young talent in the scene. I think, you know, Honkai Attitude, they're going to need to take a little bit of breather after that one and, you know, get ready for the match against AHQ, who on paper, it should be a harder match for them as well, rather than Machi. If they were this close versus Machi, who knows, it should be very close versus AHQ as well. We're going to find out what that series looks like very, very soon. We're going to have a break before we get into that, so we'll have to see you after.